remain too far apart to reunite men's professional golf? Let's unpack just before 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very good morning. Our top story is a big crash into Cape Town. It's on the N2. A couple of taxis involved. It's in front of Khayelitsha. It's the N2 inbound before the R300. Traffic is heavy. It's a high-volume route, and that traffic driving into that crash in already parking back beyond Spine Road. So if you're coming in from Somerset West Side, you need to get flight connections in a hurry. Off-ramp somewhere like Baden-Powell. Take the R102 Van Riebeeck Road, hook into Stellenbosch Arterial, go into the airport the top way rather than sitting on that N2 inbound. It is heavy. We're looking okay across Joburg this morning. Importantly, the N1 North through Dipcliff down to Uncle Charlie's is moving nicely today. It's been a really busy first 3 days of the week, but this morning it's doing okay. Stationary vehicle coming through Pietermaritzburg around Market Road. Left lane closed on your way to Durban. And if you're on your way towards Durban, a little bit further down, there are two stationary vehicles stuck around Cliffdale. Also a breakdown between Kumashu and Gateway on the N2 running north. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
The time is 6 minutes after 6. Today is Thursday, the 22nd of January, 2026. The station is SAFM 104 to 107. You are here. I am here. Come, let's huddle together for the next 3 hours so we can inform and engage each other. And perhaps somewhere in the exchange of information and ideas, we may just sharpen each other's perspectives on the key issues of the day. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Morning Brief. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. Among some of what we will cover for you over the next 3 hours. Few stories scream anarchy, breakdown in law and order, and the state we are in than the one playing out in Randfontein right now. It's a story that has at its core the kind of fear no family should live with. Nights spent lying flat on the floor as gunfire echoes outside. Children threatened, homes invaded, and whole streets emptied by terror. In Randfontein, into the west of Gauteng, more than 600 families, mostly women and children, more than 600 people, let me put it that way, more than 600 people, mostly women and children, have fled their homes after months of violence allegedly carried out by illegal miners known as Zamazamas operating in and around Sporong informal settlement. Residents say Zamazamas have stormed homes, assaulted people, extorted cash, threatened kidnappings, even targeted the elderly for their social grants, turning daily life into a constant state of siege. How is this even possible? How is this even a conversation in a country, supposedly a rules-based country, a democratic society, constitution, rule of law, government, central government? How is this even a conversation? So with nowhere else to go then, the families grabbed what they could, and what they could carry, and are now sheltering in cramped, unhygienic conditions at the Randgate Community Hall, where safety has come at the cost of dignity and stability. Here's what we will do on that story. At 7:10, we'll speak to Yvette du Plessis, who is a member of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, but also a resident of Randfontein, to get the perspectives of a local, but also someone in tune with policy issues, at least at the provincial level. Then we'll speak to David van Wyk, lead researcher at the Benchmarks Foundation, about how this phenomenon has been playing itself out and perhaps if it's shifting across the various regions, especially in Western Gauteng, and what are the factors that are at play and how, if at all, it can be brought under control. So those are the two interviews we will have on that. And then at about 7:45 this morning, we'll speak to Mary Jane Mphahlele, founder of Mary Jane Mphahlele Incorporated. And you know where we're going with this. It's a practice not strictly necessary or needed in law, but one that many South Africans choose to do anyway. Getting married through customary rites and then later on concluding a civil marriage. under the Marriages Act. So in a few instances, by the time they seek to get into the civil marriage, they've thought through what they want to do with their marital property regime, right? And they decide to sign what they believe to be a valid antenuptial contract, deciding in some instances that they want to be married out of community of property. And a classic case is the one playing itself out right now, the ongoing divorce battle between popular DJ Black Coffee and his ex-wife Entlembali Mlotshwa. Well, if that's your intended course of action, you may want to think long and hard about that. The Constitutional Court has just delivered a truly consequential judgment that brings long-awaited clarity about what happens when partners first marry under customary law and later conclude a civil marriage. The court has ruled that the antenuptial contract signed after a customary marriage, but before or around the time that you are entering into the civil marriage, is not really an antenuptial contract at all, but an invalid post-nuptial contract unless that whole process was supervised and approved by a court of law. So you can't just the two of you, after you are married in customary law, lobola has been paid and there have been all these other traditions that have been undertaken, and then now you're getting into a civil marriage and you decide, actually, while we didn't specify when we got into the customary marriage whether we wanted to be in community of property or out of community of property, now we are clearer. Let's sign. Let's do this and just sign. The law has said you simply cannot do that. If you want to do that, that whole process has to be supervised through judicial supervision. Otherwise, what you are entering into is not a valid antenuptial contract. So, crucially also, the court has explained that entering into a civil marriage later does not dissolve the original customary marriage. What they're saying is it is legally subsumed but not terminated, and the original property regime carries through unless properly changed within the various prescripts that allow for couples to change their marital property regime. So we'll have that conversation. You may want to weigh in on it, your own thoughts about it. The number to dial is 086 000 2032 or your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Mary Jane Mpahlele will give us some insights at about 7:45 this morning. Lastly, let me flag this one. For Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean McPherson, few issues have caused him more headaches than the Independent Development Trust, an entity meant to deliver schools, clinics and other social infrastructure, but now better known for scandal and instability. In recent days, McPherson has been cleared by the Public Protector of any wrongdoing after accusations that he had improperly intervened in the IDT payments, a finding that directly contradicts the claims that were laid by the EFF last year. Yet, even as that cloud has lifted, the storm around the IDT has intensified with the recent resignation of its CEO, Tebogo Malaka, under the weight of corruption allegations and a high-profile bribery sting. You'll remember that was caught on video. So what we will do is we'll have an extensive interview with Minister Dean McPherson, who is coming in studio in person. Did you hear what I tell him? McPherson coming in studio in person, and he will talk to me at about 8:10 and we'll unpack these issues as well as other issues at play in the political environment. So he'll be my guest at about 8:10. As far as the team is concerned, we are at full strength once again. Ondelambana has your half-hourly news updates throughout the 3 hours. Zaikan is watching all things sport for you. Melissa Puta on standby with the morning brief in brief. Dauleng Lechela keeping track of what affects your pocket, where you are making or losing money today, and she will report to you every hour of the show. And Sipho Mantula will take you on a whistle-stop tour of the African continent and her diaspora with a quick roundup of the stories you should be aware of in his ever-popular also including his ever-popular historical archive. This is the morning brief. Context, consequence, and conversation starting now.
The rivalry between the Proteas and the Windies hits the rooftop this summer as they both chase a crucial victory in the second T20 international encounter. be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Thursday, 29 January at 5:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC2 with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
At Dis-Chem, get ready to start the year strong with better health and better rewards. Enjoy 20% off the lifestyle food range, plus an extra 10% off when you swipe your Better Rewards card. And get 2+1 cheapest free on any Future Life foods. Look out for the Better Rewards icon to get an extra 10% off on Better Rewards brands. Offers valid from Tuesday 13 January to Sunday 15 February. Only at Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
The thirst for maximum points has kicked in. Ziga Mambo and Amakosi are both looking for first victory in Group D. This is the bottom of the table contest of the CAF Confederation Cup. Witness the Southern African Derby, Zesco United clashes with Kaizer Chiefs on Sunday, 25 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC1. Then on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
All right, let's get it started with Melissa Puta and the morning brief in brief. Good morning to you, Melissa. Let's start with the CRL Rights Commission, the commission with possibly the longest name as far as Chapter 9 institutions are concerned. Tell me what the chairperson is saying in the wake of those extraordinary statements and the resignation of the Section 22 Committee's chairperson, Reverend Musa Xulu.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. So, Topo Mkhwanazi-Xaluva, chairperson of the CRL Commission, defended the Section 22 Committee's work after allegations of abuse of power and harassment by former member Reverend Musa Xulu. Mkhwanazi-Xaluva stressed that the committee's mandate is to uphold ethical conduct and protect the rights of religious and cultural communities, not to control churches. Xulu's resignation sparked debate over the committee's role, with claims it overstepped into church affairs. Mkhwanazi-Xaluva reaffirmed the committee's commitment to transparency, collaboration, and fostering self-regulation within religious communities.
And tell me about what's been happening around Eddington Primary School. It has become something of a flashpoint, hasn't it, around these issues of migration and just the discontent that exists in pockets of South African society about that issue.
Yes, so police used force, including stun grenades, to disperse protesters outside Eddington Primary School in Durban after a demonstration over the enrollment of unplaced learners turned volatile. Civic groups, March and March, joined by Operation Dudula and MK Party supporters, protested at the school gates, claiming South African children are being excluded in favor of learners born to foreign parents. Authorities deployed SAPS to secure the school and ensure learner safety amid concerns that pupils were traumatized by the unrest. Government and ANC leaders have urged that schools remain places for learning, noting the school is at full capacity and warning against protests that disrupt education.
And if the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Transport has its way, the days of people having a drink, alcoholic beverage, and then getting behind the wheel could be numbered.
Yes, and it's going to have quite dire consequences, I must say. South Africa's Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Transport has proposed severe new sanctions for drunk driving, including a possible lifetime ban on holding a driving license. This follows alarming festive season data showing a 144% increase in drivers testing positive for alcohol, despite a slight drop in overall road fatalities. The committee supports amending the National Road Traffic Act to introduce a zero-tolerance alcohol limit for all drivers and argues that current penalties are not a sufficient deterrent. Transport Minister Barbara Creecy and stakeholders like the Automobile Association now back stricter laws and enforcement, urging urgent legislative action to reduce road deaths. So this will be an interesting development if it is successful.
Yeah, let's see how it unfolds in the corridors of Parliament and lawmaking. Thank you for that, Melissa Puta, with the morning brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, there's just one warning and an advisory that the South African Weather Service wants you to be aware of. The warning is a yellow level 2 warning, and it is in place over the northwestern parts of Limpopo. It is for disruptive rain with heavy downpours, leading to localized flooding of susceptible roads, settlements, low-lying bridges and areas. Major roads affected but can be used, as well as increased travel times. The advisory is for extremely hot and uncomfortable conditions that are expected over the central Karoo district in the Western Cape. The rest of your weather: Pretoria will be partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers with a minimum of 14 and a maximum of 26. Johannesburg, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 13 to 25. Vereeniging, partly cloudy with isolated afternoon thunder showers, 13 to 28. Mbombela will have morning fog, otherwise partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 16 to 24. Polokwane will be cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 15 to 23. Mahikeng, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 15 to 29. Bloemfontein, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 16 to 31. Kimberley, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 19 to 34. Uppington will be fine to partly cloudy and windy, 22 to 38. Cape Town, partly cloudy, 19 to 27. George, partly cloudy, 16 to 24. Gqeberha, fine, 15 to 26. East London will be fine, becoming cloudy with isolated showers in the afternoon, 16 to 29. Durban will be fine, becoming partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain, 18 to 31. Richards Bay, partly cloudy, 19 to 32. And finally, Pietermaritzburg will have morning fog, otherwise partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 14 to 33.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
So in a rare moment of restraint, the US President Donald Trump has told a global audience in Davos in Switzerland that the United States will not use force to take over Greenland, and neither will it impose those stiff tariffs he was threatening almost all of Europe with a few days ago over the issue. It's a partial climb down that briefly reassured nervous allies, even as he doubled down on the demand for Greenland itself. Speaking at the World Economic Forum, Trump insisted that the United States would still press for negotiations, boasting that the U.S. would be quote-unquote unstoppable in any war, and warning Europe that Washington would remember those who said no to its demand that it should take over and run Greenland. In a rambling address, he dismissed what he called the stupid decisions of European leaders, from Denmark's control of Greenland to Europe's embrace of wind energy, while reviving long-standing complaints that the US carries NATO at its own expense. So what's happening here? Let's try and make sense of it as best as we can. I'm joined by Elizabeth Sideropoulos. Elizabeth Sideropoulos is Chief Executive of the South African Institute of International Affairs. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. You rarely ever see Donald Trump climbing down on any issue. What's happening here?
Well, we do know that Donald Trump is entirely unpredictable, and I suppose if we think back a year ago to his, or just under a year ago to his Liberation Day announcement on tariffs, he certainly that they would come into effect on the 2nd of April or whatever it was. That he certainly walked back the initial announcements around those tariffs, although he does it in a way that indicates that he's actually won anyway. I think there were probably a couple of reasons for why we saw him making the statements that he did yesterday. Perhaps the most important, given the way he also responded to the tariffs last year, is of course the market reaction. I think the markets have gone for a bit of a tumble over the last few days as the temperature on Greenland has increased. We've also seen, of course, European allies become a little bit more strident than they've been in the past on the issue of Greenland. Historically, there's been an attempt to be conciliatory, to use diplomatic language and so on. And I think here there's been some stronger words that have come out. And of course, also not unimportantly, the fact that there are a number of Republicans and also people within his MAGA base that actually do not support what he's been saying about, in effect, the annexation of Greenland. And the reality is that he hasn't walked that back. He continues to insist that Greenland must become part of the United States. It's essential to the US's national security. The term that this administration has been using a lot lately, which is, of course, to hemispheric security. He also did say yesterday, though, which was interesting, was that, if the US is the only country in a position to protect Greenland, and that is also important because, in effect, it's also for the protection of Western Europe. But we'll see whether how this might evolve over the next few days.
Can NATO ever be the same in light of all this tension, all this rhetoric? Not just NATO, but also just broadly, what they call the rules-based, international order. A couple of days ago, an extraordinary speech by the Prime Minister of Canada, also in Davos, Mark Carney, addressing those very issues about, let's be pragmatic about the world in which we live, as opposed to the world we wish we lived in, and really making strong statements in favor of the rules-based international order, despite the pressure. So can things ever revert to the status quo ante?
My view is that no, they can't. But let's just make sort of put that in the context. I think the rules-based order, we know that it has been fraying for some time. It has preceded Mr. Trump, and one can argue, even before the first Trump administration. Of course, the rules-based order, also as far as the US is concerned, has not always been respected, notwithstanding the fact that the US has been the major underwriter of the system that emerged post the Second World War, and certainly as a country in the global South, South Africa has also often advocated that the rules are important. They're important for small countries, for middle powers, as Mark Carney also, the point he made. But that clearly that doesn't mean that the rules-based order as it is now is always free, is always fair and just, etc. There is room for significant reform and changes that reflect the interests also of the global South. But having said that, I think we have certainly seen over the last year a real turn away, even from sort of keeping up pretenses around the rules-based order. And I think Mr. Trump has made it quite clear that might is actually right, that the US and indeed other great powers can, have more rights than other countries, and also the power to use it, notwithstanding any rules or institutions or international law that might be in place. Might is right, and this is, I think, what I think Mark Carney was really saying quite strongly a couple of days ago, that in fact, this has changed so much that in fact all of us now need to really look at new coalitions, new alliances, diversification economically and politically, because we're not actually going to go back to the status quo ante, as you said.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for your time this morning and for those insights. Elizabeth Sideropoulos is Chief Executive of the South African Institute of International Affairs. Do yourself a favor. Look up that speech by the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, and just his grappling with the flaws of the international rules-based order, and how he really grapples with it, but also brings it in the context of the here and now, talking about how we are not in the middle of a transformation, but a rupture in as far as the international order is concerned, and then setting out that middle powers, those countries that are not superpowers, but are not necessarily small, but are influential. It's time for them to really stand up at the moment and actually lead in this particular moment. 6:30. Let's go to Ondela Mbana, and then we'll pick it up with traffic update, and then we'll go to Zaikan.
Thank you. To us on the news headlines. Houses in Kharamongwana village outside Bulugwane in Limpopo have been flooded following yesterday's rains. The affected people say their properties have been damaged. The scholar transport driver and the crash in which 12 learners were killed in Vanderbilt Park, south of Johannesburg, will appear in a local magistrate court today. The 22-year-old man is facing 12 counts of culpable homicide as well as reckless and negligent driving. And suspended Kuruleni Metro Deputy Chief Julius Mkwanazi is expected to shed light on his relationship with the Vusimuzi Ket Matlala when he appears before Parliament's ad hoc committee this morning. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Doesn't look too bad on the run through Deepcliff interchange this morning. It was jam-packed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but here we are Thursday, and the run north down towards Uncle Charlie's looks sort of to be fairly normal at this stage. Roadworks on the N17 between Boksburg and Wadeville. Traffic on the way to Joburg already starting to queue up through there. An important note for Mpumalanga motorists today, the N2 between Ermelo and Piet Retief will have some blasting works. There's a 2-hour window between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. For the contractors to conduct this blast, and they say that once it gets underway in that time window, there will be an anticipated 1-hour closure. So it's sometime between 2 and 4, traffic will be stopped for up to an hour. Piet Retief, Ermelo, choose your travel times carefully through there today. Heading to Durban, a couple of breakdowns at Cliffdale to watch out for. There's also one bottom of the Pietermaritzburg bypass, a stationary truck going down to Market Road. At Cape Town, the big queue on the N2 inbound at Khayelitsha is still with us, but the cause of that, the crash on the N2 before the R300, has been cleared. It's left a backlog on the N2 from Baden-Powell Drive. It's left jammed up conditions on Spine Road, Meway and Old Fora Road through the area, either trying to get to or across or into the N2. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you. So we're back in full force to Premier Soccer League action, and TS Galaxy were in action against Marumo Gallants.
Hey, yeah, Tulas, they resumed 2026, 2 goals, 3 points, and Gallants, I think, are still stuck somewhere in the orbit. But nevertheless, a good one for TX Galaxy, kicking off 2026 in style. Second half goals from substitutes Mori Keita and Victor Letsualo, extending the Rockets' unbeaten run in the Betway Premiership to 4 matches. The win lifting up Adnan Begbanovic's side to 5th on the log, just 3 points off the CAF Continental place. Now, Galaxy, they ended 2025 strongly, including a draw against Chiefs, while Gallants continue to struggle, now winless in 5 matches. Let's go to UEFA Champions League. Liverpool boosting their Champions League campaign with a 3-0 win away to Marseille at a raucous Stade Velodrome. We had Dominic Sloboslai opening the scoring with a clever free kick before halftime, and then there was pressure from Jeremy Frimpong, who forced an own goal. Now, Karabakh opened their Champions League playoff hopes with a 3-2 win over Eintracht Frankfurt. And we also have some news with rugby. The Hollywood Bets Sharks hooker Bongi Mbonambi believes the Stormers will set the tone early when the two coastal rivals clash at Cape Town Stadium in the Vodacom United Rugby Championship come Saturday.
Yeah, no, for me, I'm expecting the Stormers to come out charging out of the doors. We know they're a good side. We know they want a fast start. They've got some good quality young players coming through, and obviously they've got some experience also. So yeah, as you said, I do have some good mates there. But what happens between the 4 lines, it's a different story. And what happens between the 4 lines usually stays on the 4 lines. And outside of rugby, I do have some good memories there. The Stormers still have some good mates, but I think the first task is going to be to go down to Cape Town to perform well and to make sure that we get a good result as a Sharks team.
All right, let's go to cricket action. Joburg Super Kings batter James Vin says they're preparing for a whole new game when they face the Paarl Royals in the SA20 Eliminator today.
Yeah, well, it's nice, obviously, coming into this game off the back of a win, as you say, against the same opposition. But it's a new day, new game, as you say, new conditions. So, what happened a couple of days ago in Paarl gives us a bit of confidence. We know tomorrow's going to be a different challenge against a good side. So we'll have to make some adjustments there. But yeah, certainly, that win came at a good time. Obviously, we needed to win. And as you say, we've been on a bit of a dodgy run. So I think the belief and confidence is back within the group.
And finally, golf. Rory McIlroy believes men's professional golf remains far from reunification. Speaking ahead of the Hero Dubai Desert Classic, the four-time major winner says the PGA Tour and Live Golf are still too far apart to reach a deal. That's where we reach the end of your sport. For now, we'll bring you more top of the hour. I am Zaikan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Hey, Ndaulen, good morning to you. So for the first update of the morning, let's talk banking. Nedbank is looking to expand in the east of the continent, yeah?
That's right, Thulas. The lender has unveiled plans to acquire a major stake in Kenyan bank NCBA Group as it reshapes its African strategy. Now, the proposed deal, valued at close to 14 billion rand, would give Nedbank control of roughly 66% of NCBA, while the remaining shares would continue trading on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The move comes soon after Nedbank exited its investment in Pan-African bank EcoBank, highlighting a shift towards markets where it can exercise greater control and pursue long-term growth. Now, East Africa is viewed as a strategically important region supported by solid economic growth, a young and expanding population, and rising demand for digital financial services. And we've seen a push into that region by some of Nedbank's competitors. Absa has also increased its exposure in that market, and it was rumored that Standard Bank was also vying to snap up NCBA. Now, NCBA operates across Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda, and has a strong digital banking platform with millions of customers. Under the proposal, the group will retain its brand, local management, and independent governance while gaining access to Nedbank's balance sheet and corporate banking expertise.
Here's that company name again, Karoo. Karoo is all in on South Africa, yeah?
Yep, the owner of Cartrack says South Africa will remain the backbone of its growth, with plans to double the size of its local business over the next 4 years. Now, despite its push into Southeast Asia, SA still accounts for about 3/4 of Karoo's revenue and customers. Karoo currently monitors around 1.9 million vehicles in SA and is targeting further gains in a highly competitive market. The founder and CEO, Zach Callisto, says growth will come from both higher vehicle numbers, with more South Africans buying cars, and rising subscription revenue. The group reported a strong third quarter performance, with subscription revenue up 20% and record net subscriber additions. Earnings and operating profits also increased, growing demand for its video and Cartrack tag products. Karoo says continued investment in sales capacity will help protect its leadership position locally, even as it expands its footprint across Southeast Asia.
So how did we close yesterday in Dowling, and how are we starting the morning today?
Well, risk seems to be back on the table after President Trump backed down on threats to seize Greenland by force, sending U.S. shares higher, with the Dow Jones leading the gains, closing 1.2% higher overnight. Stocks were also mostly in the green back at home, still being boosted by the gold price rally, passing through another record high yesterday and trading close to $4,800 an ounce. That leading to a 1% rise in the Resi 10 and in turn a 0.2% increase in the all share. Looking at currencies, the rand firmer against global currency pairs. It's at 16.27 to the dollar, to the pound sitting at 21.87, and against the euro, it's at 19.03. In commodities, oil is also benefiting from the risk-on mood, trading close to $64 a barrel this morning, and that positive sentiment somewhat filtering through to Asia, with stocks starting the day mostly in the green.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. The first update of the morning, and Ndauling will come back just after 7:30 with the second update of the day.
Africa Update on SAFM.
Sipho Mantula is on standby. Raz, good morning. Let's start in Uganda. More concerning developments, certainly as far as the exercise of democracy is concerned. After the election come the consequences, not in the nature that you and I would think of, but also in the nature of military calling on the opposition leader to surrender.
Refreshing morning, Thulas, and Jump Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Thulas, we know that in Uganda, election results have been pronounced. We're expecting what I will have said to you, the post-electoral dispute resolution processes. But what we are seeing is the arrest of the members of the party of Bobi Wine, the National Unity Platform Party, that were charged over this week on election-related offenses, including unlawful assembly and conspiracy. But also there is a call for that Bobi Wine must surrender within 48 hours. And that is coming from the government of President Museveni. And his son, Muhusi Kaine Rugaba, has been very naughty to us. Actually, yesterday he just deleted some of his Twitter messages that he was threatening Bobi Wine, saying that he's an outlaw. If he does not hand himself, they will raid him and they will kill him. And those are the statements that we don't expect from those who are in the military, those who are in government threatening. And hence I said, Bobi Wine have said that he will not challenge the results in the court because he doesn't have confidence in the judiciary. That is very sad to us because those are the options that are open, but he's trying to use what Venancio did. He says he will look at all non-violent and legal options. But the legal options is to take the matters to the court, to us. But it seems he doesn't have confidence in the judges in Uganda.
And I see that the Quad has been busy with the situation in Sudan and a pause in hostilities, even on humanitarian grounds, may just be in the offing.
Absolutely, Thulas. When you talk of the Quad, you talk of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, the US. The Security and Defense Council, they were meeting yesterday to review their plan in terms of humanitarian peace process, the ceasefire. And it seems that the military in both ends, RSF and the Sudanese army, are still weighing their options, considering that you'll recall that the Sudanese army, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has been accusing the United Arab Emirates to be biased towards the RSF. The RSF so far has not responded to this proposal by the Quad in terms of the peace process, ceasefire, and the UN still lamenting on the sidelines to us about humanitarian crisis that is facing Sudan, from civil displacement, hunger, disease, widespread gross human rights violations by both sides to us. That's worrying. And that's why I say we can't rely on the Quad. Egypt might rely on it. Are they representing the AU voice? Where is the intergovernmental bodies in the Sudan to us? That is worrying when we are still waiting for the Quad to deliver this peace process.
And for a region that can have so many ructions, this country is actually, I would say, Sipho, a quiet neighbor. The Republic of Congo, Congo-Brazzaville, quiet neighbor. They are planning now for their election.
They are planning for the election to last. Their last elections was 2021, and the incumbent President Denis Sassou Nguesso has still been nominated as the candidate. But yesterday they pronounced the 15th of March 2026 as the presidential election date. You'll recall to us that there have been candidates who are challenging. There's a youngest candidate, they call him Davy Mafula. There's also Pastor Ntumi. There's also a former rebel leader, Frederick Bintamu. Those are those who will be contesting Denis Sassou Nguesso. The Electoral Commission not yet have given the deadline for submitting of candidates. Remember, he's been in power to last 1979. There was a break in 1992 when he lost the first multi-party elections and came back in 1997 until this day. So he's one of the longest serving and, like you said, relatively calm, considering that the neighbors of Dr. Congo.
Dr. Congo, DRC. Let's go to your historical archives, Sipho. This was the 22nd of January 1964. What happened?
Today we will recall that KK, Kenneth David Kaunda, became the first Prime Minister of the then Northern Rhodesia, later renamed Zambia, 62 years. Kaunda, you recall, he was the president of the Pan-African Freedom Movement for East, Central and Southern Africa. Appointed this year of 1964, 62 years ago, he became the first president also in the same year, around October. The role of Kaunda, it is very known in terms of his close friendship with people like the late Oliver Tambo, late Walter Sisulu, the late Chisani, and his maintenance of the liberation movements to set up their military bases in Zambia, from Zapu to ZANU. He was a member of the ZANC, what you call the Zambia African National Congress, later renamed. And finally, as we know him, he was a man who was pushing one Zambia, one nation. But the main man is the Foreign Affairs Minister, Simon Mwanza Kwapepe. That's the man they say pushed for the change of the name. Others they were calling Zambezi, but he pushed for Zambia. He's the man who also, if you can recall that Foreign Affairs Minister, he said Africa must be careful that will be ruled by investors. That's the fear that we have to do. But as we are closing to last, I'll say this morning, one SAFM, one nation, one Tanzania, one South Africa. Just to remember the old man, KK, Kenneth Kaunda. We had a difficulty, if you recall, to deal with Uncle Bob, in 2017, when he went to meet with Uncle Bob in that meeting of Chiwenga and Mnangagwa wrestling Comrade R.G. Mugabe to resign. Many streets in South Africa have been named after Kenneth Kaunda. There's a municipality in Northwest called Kenneth Kaunda. International airport in Lusaka is named after Kenneth Kaunda. Asante sana Thulas Eswatini, the Truvezation, as we said, one SAFM, Thulas, one South Africa.
Sipho, thank you for that. Of course, playing on that mantra of one Zambia, one nation, one SAFM, one South Africa, says Sipho Mantula.
Babila Noko want to rubber stamp that Umnandi in the top half, while Ezimnyama Ngenkani are highly spirited to make this their season to shine. This is the Betway Premiership. Nisekazini forever. Catch Skukune United versus Orlando Pirates on Saturday, 24 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Hello, January. You feel different to December. December was nice, wasn't it? January is strange like that. Because as much as December was easy, January is hard. Giving things up, getting fit, looking ahead, making plans, changing plans. And 11 months later, it's December again. And on it goes. Year after year after year. The thing is, December is how you should feel when you retire. And all the time you spend getting there should make it worth it. That's why, after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do the things you want to do. Like turning your Januaries into Decembers. Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
SABC2 is stepping into a new era, Papa, where every moment tells a story. A new era of conversations with Enklik Let's Connect at 4:30 p.m., bringing real talk and South African voices. A new era of Afrikaans news at 6:30 p.m., trusted information in the language you love. A new era of family entertainment, Omar Sari at 7 p.m., celebrating humor, tradition and togetherness. A new era of excitement in a new time slot, Deal or No Deal at 7:30 p.m., bringing primetime thrills home. A new era of drama, Pimville at 9 p.m., a brand new powerful telenovela from Soweto that grips the heart, and a new era of flavor with a new season of Color Your Plate with Koo, Sundays at 7 p.m. A new era begins on SABC2.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Just having a little bit of a look down at the Deep Cliff interchange, because if you come up through that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it was a nightmare. This morning, here we are Thursday, and it has sort of normalised. So busy, heavy. There's a lot of traffic that comes up that way these days, but nothing broken down or crashed or obstructed. So just heavy as you get up through Deep Cliff and turn down towards that N12. There's also a crash scene on the N3 northbound at Heldenay. So coming up from Germiston and Alberton on your way to Bedford, it's heavy. Some delays going into Germiston this morning. Watch for this. The M2 coming off the N3 Heldenay down to Refinery Road. There's a big convoy of traffic. You might want to elect to just avoid that one. That could be there for some time. And the N17 from Boxburg through Wadeville on your way to Joburg, again being held up due to roadworks. Mighty Mopani Highway to Pretoria, heavy from Theo Martins all the way down towards Eski and Pathlali this morning. Durban, a stationary truck. There were two of them. There's just one left on the N3 at Cliffdale. The other breakdown is north between Komashu and Gateway, and that's now causing a big delay. If you're on your way to the airport, make sure you've got plenty of time to get through. And motorists coming out of Mitchell's Plain on your way maybe through Philippi, quite a big queue. There's a crash on Varkensvlei Road at Olieboom in that Philippi area. Behind that, the traffic is backed up Veltervreden Road as you come out of Mitchell's Plain up to that Varkensvlei junction. So some very heavy traffic on that run through. And the earlier crash N2 into town at Khayelitsha by the R300 is cleared, but it's left a big backlog of traffic from right back as far as Baden-Powell Drive, in fact. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Indeed, we are, as always, streaming live on all of those platforms, and you can join the conversation there. Let's pick up on a story that we've been watching for the last while. Importantly, we shouldn't really swiftly move away from it because of the devastating impact that the floods have had in Limpopo and Mpumalanga. Well, Limpopo is still reeling from the devastating impact of relentless severe weather as the discovery of another body in Bapalaborwa area pushes the provincial death toll from the floods to 19. Torrential rains, flooding and storm damage have claimed lives, displaced families, destroyed infrastructure and severely disrupted schooling, particularly in the Mopani, Vembe and Sekhukhune districts. Let's speak to Baskopo Makamo, who is the MEC in Limpopo for the Department of Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs. Good morning to you, MEC, and thank you for your time. Just if we could start with an update of the our understanding of the full scale of the disaster, right? As the waters start to subside, I imagine that you're starting to see the fuller picture of how much damage has been suffered by the province.
Thanks very much, Thulasizwe and the listeners of SAFM. Let me indicate that, yes, the rain is starting to subside, and our teams are on the ground trying to update the reports that we have. But I must indicate that the last count of the report we have, we still seeing a very bad situation. And even us as political leadership of the province, we are not resting. As I'm talking to you, I'm on my way already to be Thulamela, Collins Chavani, with the Minister of Human Settlement, together with the Premier. We'll just be today assessing the human settlement challenges, the houses that has collapsed. But when we look at the situation, our roads are badly affected. More than 439 roads have been affected. Bridges have been affected. More than 32 schools have been affected. More than 30 clinics have been affected. Some water purification. And when I'm talking like this, is a report coming from sector departments. But all our 22 municipalities have done the challenges they have and submitted reports. I think it's one of the things that helped us to make an application for the classification of a national disaster. So I can tell you from the finance point of view that the last count we had was almost 7 billion that we may require to look for the situation and try to restore it to the previous. That will make the community to be accessible. But it's not only infrastructure that is damaged. Even humanitarian relief has to be looked into, food, blankets, because some do not have anything as we speak. Water has taken everything from some of the households.
Yeah. In fact, I wanted you to talk a bit more about that, the human toll as well as the humanitarian situation. The number of people who passed on, according to the report we were citing just now, was at 19, sadly. But I'm wondering if there are still more people that are unaccounted for, that perhaps crews are still looking for, and also at the same time trying to respond to survivors and their needs.
Look, it is correct that the number, we are standing at 19, but at the same time, we still have got 6 missing bodies that our teams are looking. The ones in Palabora, the ones in Giani, the ones in Wembe, Chinga, all those bodies, the teams are still, and I must appreciate and inform you that the National Disaster Management Center has sent additional manpower to assist in this regard, so that maybe we can be able to find, because communities are also now mentally tired to be waiting to look, and when they see a team of divers not succeeding and it's late at night and they want to knock off, communities say you can't go, still continue even when it is risky for the team that is there. So we want to thank National Department that they have brought an additional team, but the fact remains that we are working. I must thank also the gift of the givers, LC and other, your ShopRite. They are providing food items and necessary groceries that we can be able to be sharing. There are communities in Palabora, in Giani, in Wembe, were there myself, Premier MEC for Social Development, where we distributed more than 500 food parcels to communities which are cut off, that they may not necessarily have food in their houses.
So while ideally you should be doing everything at once, there's going to be some prioritization naturally. What do you consider to be the apex priorities, the most pressing needs that you must respond to as you get into this mode of working that has to do with the declaration of a national disaster, well, the classification of a national disaster? We've got the humanitarian situation which you've spoken to. After that, what comes next as an immediate priority?
Thulasizwe, you will wish to even have one that you say this one will be the priority to start with. But unfortunately, when this community is suffering out of electricity blackouts, simply because the electricity infrastructure is damaged, to them that is a priority they will want you to respond to now. This community, the bridge has been swept out. They are now cut off from the other communities. To them, that is a priority. So you may not even decide on that, but whenever you are picking all these things and all our teams are on the ground, you quickly do that. Hence, you will say maybe if people, their houses have collapsed and the relatives have taken them or accommodated them, you will say, let me wait. That's why the minister is here today. So all these things, I have seen, even under the difficult conditions, the Department of Public Works, Roads and Infrastructure, we're trying to make makeshift bridges too. The Premier has requested South African National Defence Force. The Chief of the Army was here. They are bringing the team to help us in some instances to construct, because if the school, definitely learners can't go to school. the time is running out, they will write the same exam paper like any other area which is not facing the situation. We must quickly try to restore that bridge that takes them to school so that they can be a catch-up program so that they can compete with other learners from other areas who are not facing. So let me say that the Premier has convened a meeting yesterday and said to all of us as MECs, we together with mayors, that we must make at the urgent matters that communities are looking for and try to use the little resources when we are still waiting for national to come and assist. Little resources we have, because classification is there, we can reprioritize our funds and be able to resolve some challenges.
All right, MEC, thank you for your time as always and just that comprehensive update and giving us the full picture of what's happening in response to the recent flooding in Limpopo. MEC Pascopo Makamo is MEC of the Department of Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs in Limpopo. 7 a.m. on Delambana on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Thank you, Tulas. On the top stories, floods damage houses in Kharomongwana village in Limpopo, and Julius Mkwanazi to appear before Parliament's ad hoc committee. For SAFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good morning. Houses in Kharomongwana village outside Bulugwane in Limpopo have been flooded following yesterday's rains. The affected people say their properties have been damaged. They say some children were unable to go to school. Bulugwane and Capricorn district municipalities could not comment on the situation. One of the residents, Mamuloko Mutemane, is pleading for urgent help from the authorities.
We are
pleading with the Polokwane municipality to help us by draining the water. They can even fill the yards with rocks and sand because it is a low-filled area. We can't walk because there is water everywhere on the streets and even around the neighborhood. We are asking for help. Our children can't even go to school.
The Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire services say several active fire lines have continued to burn in the mountains above Franshoek. Fire crews have been facing challenging conditions over the past few days. This as the fires entered the sixth day. Fire spokesperson Joanne Otto.
The Incident Command Centre reports that multiple flare-ups occurred late yesterday afternoon, causing several fire lines to spread rapidly up the mountain slopes. Multiple aerial resources were deployed to support firefighting efforts and ensure property protection. No structures were damaged and no injuries were reported. The Franschhoek Pass is open.
The Scholar Transport drive in the crash in which 12 learners were killed in Vanderbijl Park, south of Johannesburg, will appear in the local magistrate court today. The 22-year-old man is facing 12 counts of culpable homicide as well as reckless and negligent driving. 3 other scholars are still in hospital following the crash which happened on Monday. On Tuesday, Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi told the media that the driver's specialized permit, known as an operating license for Scholar Transport, expired last year. Sasha Naidu reports.
The driver of the Scholar Transport vehicle who allegedly caused the fatal crash is now facing a string of serious charges. This follows eyewitness reports from the scene that he had overtaken more than 3 vehicles at once on a narrow road before crashing into the truck in the oncoming lane. Sasha Naidu, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Suspended Kuruledi Metro Deputy Chief Julius Mkwanazi is expected to shed light on his relationship with the Vusimuzi Cat Matlala when he appears before Parliament's ad hoc committee this morning. Mkwanazi is accused of signing 2 memorandum of understanding with the alleged criminal cartel kingpins companies and fitting blue lights to his vehicles. Former head of police watchdog IPID, Robert McBride, completed his 2-day testimony yesterday. U.S. President Donald Trump say a productive meeting with NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte has led to a framework of potential deal covering Greenland and the Arctic region. Trump has backtracked on his threat of an additional 10% tariff on European nations over their rejection of his efforts to take ownership of Greenland. Showing Bryce Pease reports.
The move from the U.S. President also comes hours after the European Parliament formally suspended the ratification process of a trade deal deal between the bloc and the United States over the tariff threat. The announcement also comes ahead of an emergency summit of EU leaders in Brussels on Thursday. The tariff threat irritated a number of European leaders in Denmark, Sweden, Germany, France and the United Kingdom, among others, who affirmed Greenland's sovereignty and self-determination despite US advances. President Trump said further information would be forthcoming on the proposed framework of a future deal, which would involve negotiations that would be led by his Vice President and the Secretary of State. Sherwin Ricepeace, SABC News, New York.
Recapping the top story, houses in Mongwana village outside Bulugwane in Limpopo have been flooded following yesterday's rains. The affected people say their properties have been damaged. I'm on the Lambano for SFM News Headlines, 7:30.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. 30-year-old Dineo knows all about saving on her car insurance with Outsurance.
I'm saving 1,094 Rands.
That's an unbelievable 1,094 Rand monthly saving on Dineo's 2025 Kia Sonet. And she'll get an out bonus.
If I'm claim-free for 3 years, then I get an out bonus back.
Ready to see how much money Outsurance could save you? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, it's soccer pressure mounting on Sundowns coach Medel Cardoso as continental expectations rise. And we also bring you the European heavyweights march on as Liverpool and Bayern seal their Champions League last 16 spots. The details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We started Joburg with a crash on the N3 before Heldene. So coming out of Alberton and Germiston, the N3 and N12 routes into Elands and then up on your way towards Cement Factory, very heavy. Also staying that way, if you're going into Germiston, avoid the M2. It's a really big backlog of traffic this morning from Heldene down to Refinery Road. If you work in Germiston, you come off the highways, that is one you certainly want to steer away from. The N17, Boxburg through Wadeville, on your way to Joburg through Roadworks is slow. At the M1, Deepcliff busy, up through Uncle Charlie's, but not as bad perhaps as it was the first 3 days of this week. Just north of Durban, well, quite a bit north, Tinley Manor area, there is a crash between Salt Rock and Tinley Manor. It's a truck across the central median there, so north and southbound traffic on that section of the N2, quite badly backed up. Also on your way to the airport, a very heavy backlog of traffic between Kwamashu and Gateway. That's driving up into a broken down vehicle obstruction. Cape Town, the N2 inbound passing Khayelitsha stays heavy to the R300. That's after an earlier crash scene. And the N1 into town this morning, fairly busy from Belleville's Durban Road all the way to Kuburg Interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
7 minutes after 7 on this Thursday. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107. Live as always on all our digital platforms, including our website that is safm.co.za, the YouTube channel SAFM Radio, but also on Facebook and on X at SAFM Radio. You can track us there live. Among some of what we will cover in this hour, we'll be going in a bit deep, a bit more comprehensive around the situation that's playing itself out at the Sporong informal settlement in Randfontein, where you've got this extraordinary situation where anything between 400 and 600 people are now sheltered at a community hall, having fled their homes in the wake of the violence associated with illegal mining activity in and around that area of Sporong informal settlement. I mean, the images are extraordinary. If you see them in the newspapers as well as, TV reporting that has come through from there, people just sheltered in that hall with everything that they own, well, as much of it as they could take, mainly women and children, displaced by criminality. South Africa, what is going on? How are we here? How? So we'll talk to Yvette du Plessis, member of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature. Perhaps Yvette will have an answer to that question. How did we get here? And then we'll try and get the perspective as well of the researcher from Benchmarks Foundation, and we'll be talking to David van Wyk, who tracks these kinds of things, the activities of illegal miners, the so-called zama-zamas. So back to back, we'll have those conversations in this half hour. And then, of course, a bit later on, we'll come back to that conversation around the two marriage systems, customary marriage, civil marriage, what they call a civil marriage. A lot of people do both, right? So a lot of people will conclude customary marriage and have all the celebrations, and then a bit later on they will have a civil marriage and enter into that. Nothing wrong as long as you are marrying each other, not another person under a different regime, which you are not allowed to do. But what people have tended to do until now is that when they now enter into the civil marriage, sometimes they will then enter into what they believed was an antenuptial contract. That they thought it's a valid antenuptial contract, where now, as far as the customary marriage is concerned, we've been in community of property, because that's the default. If you don't choose that you want to be married out of community of property, the default is customary marriage in community. So when they now get into a civil marriage, a lot of people have been entering into antenuptial contracts, where the Constitutional Court has said that antenuptial contract entered without going through various processes that are required under judicial supervision is simply invalid. The marriage that subsists is actually a marriage in community of property, and the civil marriage doesn't, extinguish the customary marriage. It subsumes it. I don't know what that means. It subsumes it at law, but the customary marriage remains in place. So we'll speak to Mary Jane Mpahlele, founder of Mary Jane Mpahlele Incorporated, at about 7:45 this morning. Your calls, I'll take those on 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, and your WhatsApp voice notes and messages on 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The second hour of the morning brief on this Thursday.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
All right, so let's start then with that story out of Randfontein. And it's that kind of fear that no family should live through that is playing itself out. Nights spent lying flat on the floor as gunfire echoes outside. Children threatened, homes invaded, and whole streets emptied by terror. In Randfontein, west of Gauteng, more than 600 people, mostly women and children, have fled their homes after months of violence allegedly carried out by illegal miners operating in and around the Sporong informal settlement. Residents say these so-called zama-zamas have stormed homes, assaulted people, extorted cash, threatened kidnappings, and even targeted the elderly for their social grants, turning daily life into a constant state of siege. Let's get a perspective from Yvette du Plessis, member of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, who also is a resident of Randfontein. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. I've been asking the question, how did we get here? What is your best sense of how we got here? Certainly, it's a problem that plays itself across many localities, but certainly as far as this particular manifestation of it.
Thulasizwe, good morning. Thank you to you, and good morning to you and the listeners, and thank you for this opportunity. Yes, as you know, that a couple of years ago, even Bekitele was here on the West Rand, and he made a lot of promises about the SANDF going to get involved on the Zama-Zamas. But as you know, Randfontein is a town, the same as well we fall with Western area as the Randwest City local municipality. And there's a number of mining activities happening around us. Old mining activities that's been dilapidated for a number of years, as well as a couple of companies still going strong. But yes, this brings along the scourge of Zama-Zamas, and with Zama-Zamas, you get a lot of criminal activity. So yes, that's where we're sitting. This has been going for many years. You've seen what has happened between Randfontein and Krugersdorp. You've seen what's happening between Randfontein and Western area, where you've got all these old mining activities which the Zamazamas love to get involved in. But with that goes the reality that they need to have supplies, they need to have services, and that's where they start to get to interact with communities. And that's where all the problems start, where they are looking for food, they're looking for supplies, they're looking for equipment that they need to use. So they get involved with the communities, and at the end of the day, you get the situation where they move into these communities and they start terrorizing them. They use all the activities that we know criminals use. They use rape, they use extortion, they use threats to tell the people, but we are now in control here, and you need to listen to what we want and what we want you to do. And I think that this community just got caught up in all of this, with all the Zamazamas being in that specific area.
Getting caught up in that situation as it plays itself out with that illegal mining and the criminality that's associated with it. What I don't get is what seems to be a failure of a response by the state. The fact that people felt that they have no option but to leave their homes and go and stay at that Randgate community hall, that says that basically the state has failed them. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Thulasizwe, it is a fair assessment. You hit the nail right on the head. The reality is that when this happened on, what was it, about a week or two ago on a Sunday, I was called by the PR councillor for that ward, as well as the councillor for Ward 4, where the people was moved to the Randgate Hall. And they were never informed of this. But the reality is that it comes down to policing. It comes down to safety and security. That this was the real problem, that these people have been to the SAPS. They complained to the council. They complained to their councillor. They complained to a number of entities, but nothing has been done. And you're quite right, that's the reality that we're sitting in, is that we don't have crime fighting. That people like the Zamazamas can run rampant and do whatever they wish and really terrorize this community, and nothing is being done. So yes, there was a number of breakdowns in communication, and I would say that the state is to blame at the end of the day, because again, we come back to the fact that Becky Tele have been here and he's promised the communities in and around the West Rand that something would be done about the scourge of Zamazamas. And the SAPS needs to play a role, and there's two situations playing itself out there, that we've got SAPS members that are involved in these illegal activities, but we've also got SAPS members that are understaffed and under-equipped. So yes, it's definitely the state that is here to blame, and crime fighting and making these people's lives safer, and trying to fight the scourge of Zamazamas, because like it's rampant and rife on the West Rand, because there is. If you come and take a look here, or come around to this area, there is number of open excavations happening in and around Randfontein, which is either old mining activity or mining activity that's currently going on.
So these community members, as a parting shot then, Yvette, these community members gathered at Randgate Community Hall. What's the end game? What's their plight right now, and what do we understand to be the end game for them returning to a semblance of normalcy?
Okay, so what I've been able to gather was that they were moved there, I think it was in 2012, 2013, with the promise that they would be moved to the Montrose mega development. As you would know, in Randfontein, we've got a number of mega developments, but that was of what I was told was to be the case. They would be moved there to Spurong, and then as soon as Montrose was completed, they would get units there. And we all know what happened to Montrose. It is one of those human settlement mega developments that fell totally apart, where the developer just ran away. This is still in court. So the end game would be what we've heard. And again, we've been trying to get communication from the municipality, because it was them that was involved in the moving the people in the first place. So it seems that they want to move them back to Sporong, which I don't know if that's a very good idea. I think that there has been conversations going on about how many people that are currently in the hall is South African citizens, who is illegal immigrants. We have the situation of where they are trying to fathom who of these people have applied for state housing to try and place them. But like I said, the reality and what I keep on hearing is that they will be moved back to Sporong, and I don't know if that would be the right thing to do. But to leave all of those people in a hall with two toilets is also not the answer. So yes, I'm on my way there right now when we finish with this conversation to also assist the councillor there into trying to understand what the way forward will be. Because, like I said, all that other processes, trying to fathom who's South African citizens, who's on the housing list, that takes time. And I don't think we have got a lot of time.
All right, Yvette, thank you for that. That's Yvette Du Plessis, member of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, also a resident of Randfontein, keeping tabs on that situation. Listening to that conversation has been David van Wyk, who is lead researcher at the Benchmarks Foundation. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. You've tracked.
Thank you very much.
You've tracked developments around Gauteng's the Witwatersrand gold belt for the longest time, the socio-economics thereof. How do we explain the proliferation of criminality to the extent that those engaged in what is illegal activity can have so much sway such that communities feel that their community is unlivable and actually be displaced in the way that we are seeing?
Well, I think that what we are seeing is a turf war. It's a syndicate trying to get control of a specific area. But we've got to trace the problem back to its root. The problem back to its root is that the Department of Mineral Resources has allowed corporations to abandon mines all over the country, and especially in the Gauteng area, all along Main Reef Road. You find abandoned mines all along the road, all from Brakpan in the east right through to Randfontein in the west and even further down. And as a consequence of abandoning this land, for which there was a plan in 2010, and the plan was to green that area and actually rehabilitate the entire area, but the Department of Mineral Resources went against that plan and continued to issue mining licenses to very dubious companies like Mintails, for example, like Central Rand Gold, for example, all of which went belly up because it wasn't viable. At the moment, they've got a company called Westwits moving into that area as well, and I can bet you that company is going to go belly up as well in the not too near future. Because the area has been mined out for large-scale industrial mining. Now, you have two options. You either rehabilitate it completely and you repurpose the whole area for alternative uses, or alternatively, you allow for artisanal and medium small-scale mining in a controlled manner, in a transition. You make a transition to an alternative way of mining away from large-scale mining because large-scale mining is no longer viable in the area. And the department doesn't want to listen when people tell them that needs to happen and it needs to be planned for. We warned about this since 2010, that this is what is going to happen, and this is exactly what happened in the entire area. You find an informal settlement stretching almost all the way from Benoni Springs in the east right through to Randfontein and beyond in the west. All the old mining towns have been basically demolished. They look as if they've been in Gaza. It looks that bad. All the houses are destroyed. All the infrastructure is destroyed. All things that could have been usefully used by local government in these areas to provide housing, to provide services, to provide infrastructure, education, health, sport and recreation and so on, because they all had those kinds of facilities, which they no longer have now because they have been destroyed. All of them had electricity substations. That entire area could have become a solar farm that could have supplied electricity to the city of Johannesburg. So we are not surprised.
So while we work on the more systemic fixes and the more policy fixes that talk to the roots of the problem as you've described it, is it possible, David, to disrupt the activities of those you call syndicates? And how much do we know about these syndicates that are involved in illegal mining?
Well, all the policing activities at the moment are targeting the actual mine workers. They're not targeting the bosses of these syndicates. Where do the weapons come from? We talk about AK-47s, 9mm pistols, R4 rifles, and so on. We know for a fact that the police keep on losing 9mm parabellums on a shocking scale. We know that the military loses R4 assault rifles on a shocking scale, and these things turn up in cash-in transit robberies and other crimes and so on. These are also crimes that are associated with the high levels of inequality and poverty and unemployment in this country, and people resorting to crime in order to make a living. And small-scale artisanal mining under the control of criminal syndicates is one of those ways of doing so. But also we have to ask ourselves, how is the industry involved in this? We have people who are alleging that there are smelters and processing plants on the East Rand that actually do take illegal gold and smelt and process that gold. We know that the scrap metal industry is also involved. We know that pawn shops and so on are also involved. Why is it that we go for the guys that are underground, we take them out, we arrest them, we repatriate them back to their countries, but we don't get the bosses in Sandton and in the leafy suburbs of Johannesburg, the guys who are actually financing this? One eye drop bottle of mercury costs 2,000 rands. All these guys are using mercury to extract the gold. That is how they do it. And mercury is, of course, very dangerous for the environment and so on. And it gets heated in order to take the gold out of the mercury after they wash the gold with mercury and so on. A 20-liter bottle costs 65,000 rands, but mercury is a prescribed material. You can get it on the internet. People are advertising it on Facebook.
So you mentioned quite a number, David, and very quickly, you mentioned quite a number of industries that you say need to be looked into for facilitating this trade. Do we know, though, ultimately the money flow, if we were to theorize about who ultimately benefits? What would be the best answer for that?
Well, I think that we know that in local government elections in Matabeng, for example, Sarel Cello, the big syndicate boss from Lesotho, financed local government elections in Lesotho and also allegedly in the Welkom, Windhousrus, Allen Reach area as well. People, when you talk to them there, when you interview them, they tell you that this is in fact what is happening. So we are getting to the kind of situation that the drug trade in the Western Cape is like. The people who are involved in it are brazen. They are open. They brag about the fact that they are doing these things. Now, my question remains, why do we not get movement on the surface? And the reason why we don't get movement on the surface is because of political patronage. The people who run the syndicates actually fund political campaigns and things like that. They actually undermine and pollute democracy. But ultimately, we also have to ask ourselves, why hasn't the government prosecuted any large-scale mining companies for abandoning mines? We have one of the biggest monopolies leaving South Africa at the moment for Canada. That company controlled most of those mines along Main Reef Road. Why is it not being investigated?
Yeah, all right. Thank you for that, David. Sobering realities of the mining sector. A mining sector in decline in terms of controlled and large-scale mining activity, but also at the same time with this surge in as far as small-scale illegal mining with all the attendant problems that we are seeing. David van Wyk, lead researcher at the Benchmarks Foundation.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
It's a very good morning. Let's kick it off with Mamelodi Sundowns. Their coach Miguel Cardoso is under growing pressure to deliver continental glory this season, with expectations firmly set beyond the group stage. Despite a solid start in the CAF Champions League, 4 points from 2 matches, Sundowns are being judged on knockout success, not momentum, with Pitso Mosimane's famous warning that the real tournament starts in the knockouts ringing louder than ever, with Coach Cardoso knowing convincing performances starting against Al Hilal on Friday are non-negotiable. Soccer action from last night saw TS Galaxy kicking off 2026 in style, beating Marumo Gallants 2-0 at Mbombela Stadium. The win lifting Adnan Beganovic's side to 5th place on the log, just 3 points off the CAF Continental place. And more action from the Champions League as several heavyweights book their place in the last 16. Liverpool cruised to a 3-0 win away to Marseille, while Barcelona struck 4 past Slavia Prague to stay firmly on course. Bayern Munich overcame a red card to beat Union Saint-Gilloise 2-0. Juventus saw off Benfica, and Newcastle powered past PSV 3-0 at St. James Park. Elsewhere, Karabakh kept their playoff hopes alive with a 3-2 win over Eintracht Frankfurt, while Atletico Madrid were held to a 1-1 draw by Galatasaray. Rugby now, the Hollywood Bet Sharks hooker Bongi Mbonambi believes the Stormers will set the tone early when the two coastal rivals clash at Cape Town Stadium in the Vodacom United Rugby Championship on Saturday. He looks ahead to the derby.
Coach JP, he's trying to build some squad depth. Obviously, all the unions are trying to do that, playing 2 competitions. Season's been so long. And all the players can't play all the games. And I mean, credit to him. He's obviously trying to get the youngsters to perform in the big games. So rotating the squad and making sure that everyone gets some game time under the belt. And choosing between 2 teams does give you sort of advantage. And it's up to Coach JP what side he wants to pick, and it's up to us players to back the plan and to make sure we work together.
On the news headlines, residents of Jeffsville Informal Settlement in Attridgeville, west of Pretoria, say they are tired of violent crime in their area. This follows the fatal shooting of 5 men yesterday. Houses in Haramongwana village outside Polokwane in Limpopo have been flooded following yesterday's rains. The affected people say their properties have been damaged, and the Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire services say several active fire lines have continued to burn in the mountains of Braafranshoek. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Morning, Joburg. N3 and N12 under pressure up to Heldnase. A crash near a cement factory this morning. If you're coming out of Germiston or Alberton, it is really quite heavy. N17 from Boxburg through Wadeville down to Osborne Road. Single lane roadworks there causing delays. And we've got a little operation on the M2 at Refinery. If you're going off the N3 highway down into Germiston, that M2 eastbound is heavily backed up. Deepcliff busy now. You're queuing up from the Eldorado Parkside through Deepcliff down towards Uncle Charlie's territory. Pretoria section, N1 South looks right, gets busy at Midrand, but that's fairly normal. Now, if you're driving up to the airport, Durban's King Shaka International, a lot of traffic on the N2. It's a breakdown before you get to Gateway. Traffic all the way back through almost to Queen Nundy Drive territory. Also crashed just south of Tinley Manor this morning on the N2 between Salt Rock and Tinley Manor, backlogging traffic through there. And Cape Town, heavy traffic on the N2 inbound after an earlier crash at Khayelitsha. Traffic queuing from Baden-Powell Drive through to the R300 junction. Also a lot of traffic on Baden-Powell this morning heading into Muizenberg. Quite a big backlog arriving from Strandfontein side. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The thirst for maximum points has kicked in. Ziga Mambo and Amakosi are both looking for first victory in Group D. This is the bottom of the table contest of the CAF Confederation Cup. Witness the Southern African Derby, Zesco United clashes with Kaizer Chiefs on Sunday, 25 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game. The citizens want to collect 3 points to emphasize that 2026 is their year.
Matthias Nunes delivers. Haaland's header! Wonderful cross. Superb header. 41st minute. Haaland's first chance.
The visitors, Wolves, plan to reveal a big strategy to shock Sir Guardiola's side.
Mane comes back in field. Tries to strike from distance. Tolo! 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 Oh my word! That is sensational!
This is the Premier League. Catch Manchester City versus Wolverhampton Wanderers on Saturday, 24 January at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Let's go to Ndauling Lechela for the second update of the morning. Ndauling, the cost of living. Let's talk the cost of living. What happened with inflation in December?
So inflation ticked higher, coming in at 3.6% year on year in December. And this is slightly higher as it was at 3.5% in November. Now, prices also rose on a monthly basis, up 0.2%. Fuel was one of the key drivers following a modest petrol price increase during the month. Economists are positive this will trend lower in the coming months due to potential petrol cuts this month. Housing and utilities also added to inflation, reflecting higher electricity and water costs, which continue to filter through to households. Now, these components remain among the largest contributors to the overall inflation basket. Food price inflation in the meantime was unchanged, helped by a stronger rand and lower global food prices, which eased broader cost pressures. Now, despite the December increase, inflation remained well contained over the year as a whole. Consumer prices averaged 3.2% last year, the lowest annual inflation rate since 2004, and comfortably within the Reserve Bank's target of 3%, with a tolerance band of 1 percentage point on either side. Economists have welcomed the print, saying it provides strong evidence that inflation pressures are easing, alluding to even more rate cuts in the medium to long term.
Somewhat linked to the story around the cost of living and inflation, the retail sector, you're saying that it is showing some renewed strength and that these are the figures for November.
That's right, Silas, delivering a 3.5%.
So before you went shopping.
Well, I think I was still shopping because Black Friday, I guess.
Okay, yes.
So retail sales jumping 3.5%, marking a second straight month of acceleration and pointing to steady consumer spending, of course, during that Black Friday period. General dealers made the biggest contribution to growth, alongside strong gains from pharmacies, cosmetics, and other retailers. On a month-on-month basis, sales increased by 0.6%, extending a run of positive momentum heading into the festive season. Economists say low inflation, of course, and easing interest rates have helped support household spending, while retailer and consumer confidence have also improved that towards the end of the year. However, in a Business Day article, Chief Economist at Stanlib, Kevin Lings, cautioned that the sector still faces structural challenges. High reliance on imports and weak job creation limits the broader economic benefit of stronger retail sales, raising questions about how sustainable the recovery will be this year.
So what's moving and shaping market activity this morning?
Starting in Asia, markets trending mostly in positive territory, with the Japanese Nikkei leading those gains up over 2% as the bond rout eases and global sentiment improves. The latter also boosting Wall Street with futures in the green. Traders there will be looking out for further earnings updates and economic data, including the final GDP estimate for the third quarter. Coming back home, stocks closed in the green with the gold price rally supporting the JSE. The all-share closed 0.2% to the good, fueled by a 1% jump in the Resources 10 complex. Moving over to the rand, the local unit making gains against major global currency pairs this morning at 16.27 to the dollar, 21.85 to the British pound, and 19.02 against the euro. And then looking at oil, crude is in the green, trading close to $64 a barrel, aided by prospects of stronger demand as the International Energy Agency lifted its forecast for global oil demand growth owing to an improved economic outlook and lower oil prices.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll touch base with you one more time just after 8:30.
Babinanoko want to rubber stamp that kumnandi in the top half, while Ezimnyama Ngenkani are highly spirited to make this their season to shine. This is the Big Premiership. Nisekazini forever. Catch Skukune United versus Orlando Pirates on Saturday, 24 January at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC One. Then on SABC radio stations at 3:30 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
The citizens want to collect 3 points to emphasize that 2026 is their year.
Matthias Nunes delivers. Haaland's header! Wonderful cross. Superb header. 41st minute. Haaland's first chance.
The visitors, Wolves, plan to reveal a big strategy to shock Sir Guardiola's side.
Mane comes back in field, tries to strike from distance. Tolo! 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 Oh my word! That is sensational!
This is the Premier League. Catch Manchester City versus Wolverhampton Wanderers on Saturday, 24 January at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
20 minutes to 8. Let's get into this story. In a judgment with wide-ranging consequences for thousands of South African couples, if not millions really, the Constitutional Court has brought long-awaited clarity to what happens when partners first marry under customary law and later conclude a civil marriage, between themselves, of course. The court has ruled that an antenuptial contract signed after a customary marriage but before a later civil marriage is not a true antenuptial contract at all, but an invalid postnuptial contract unless it is done with the approval and supervision of the court. That change. That means couples who are automatically married in community of property under customary law cannot quietly switch to being married out of community of property without judicial oversight, even if they later marry each other under civil law. Crucially, the court explains that entering into a civil marriage does not dissolve the customary marriage. It is legally subsumed, we are told, not terminated, and the original property regime carries through unless properly changed. It's a mouthful. It's a lot to take in. Let's speak to Mary Jane Mpahlele, founder of Mary Jane Mpahlele Incorporated. Mary Jane, good morning and thank you for your time. I knew that you would be the right person to talk to because it feels as if it's a pickup of the conversation we had about a week or 2 weeks ago about that lack of clarity about this practice that many people like to do, getting into a customary marriage only to a year, 2 years later conclude a civil marriage. What are the big takeaway points from that judgment?
Thank you so much for having me, and morning to you and your listeners. It is a really good judgment, and you're correct to say that it brings clarity to the position regarding customary marriages and civil marriages. But one thing that people must take away from this judgment is that if you enter into a customary marriage and there's no antenuptial contract, just know that if you intend in the future for any other marriage, whether it's that customary marriage or a conversion of into a civil marriage, you would need to do a postnuptial contract, not an antenuptial contract. And the postnuptial contract would now have to be done with an application to the High Court, inform all your creditors, and only after the court has given the order to register the postnuptial contract can that postnuptial be registered.
So, say a bit more about the confusion that had existed, and you and I were talking about it in the context of the ongoing divorce battle between DJ Black Coffee and his ex-wife Entlembali Mlotshwa. What is this clarity that this judgment has now brought? Because many people do this.
You know, what I've observed in practice is it's twofold, right? The confusion, or maybe rather the lack of knowledge, stems from the idea that a customary marriage, if it's not registered, is not valid, and the parties deem themselves to be unmarried up until they go to Home Affairs to register either a customary marriage or a civil marriage. So they are of the idea that they can just simply comply with Section 3 of the RCMA, which regulates the requirements for a customary marriage, and then without registering it, later decide that they want to register a civil marriage in terms of the Marriages Act and do an antenuptial contract before. They do not regard the legal positioning of that valid customary marriage that they entered into. And anything else that they do after there, which is supposed to be a marital contract, would now be invalid. And secondly, the issue around the section that says parties who are party to a customary marriage can enter into a marriage under the Marriages Act if they are not party to any other civil marriage. And that section in itself created the confusion that people think that because there is a conversion from a customary marriage into a civil marriage, they can just, by the way, sneak in an antenuptial contract in there.
So just coming back then to the implications, the property implications of a customary marriage, is it correct to understand it that this judgment means that if and let's speak in anecdotes here, if I pay lobolo for you and then in 3 years' time, when I pay lobolo for you, you and I don't agree on what marital regime we want, the automatic position is that we are married in community of property. Is it the understanding that with this judgment, even if you and I in 3 years' time decide to get into a civil marriage, that civil marriage, the property regime that's in place will be the one from the customary marriage. Is that the position?
Absolutely. Any marriage in South Africa, whether a religious marriage, whether a customary marriage, a civil marriage, if there's no antenuptial contract before you send your uncles to the other party to conclude a customary marriage, the default matrimonial regime is in community of property. If you want to change it after the customary, then you do the Section 21 application to do a postnuptial.
So this Section 21 process, you're talking about the Marital Property Act, is it?
Yes, it's in terms of the Marital Property Act. It's an application that you do on notice of motion. You serve all your creditors or any other interested party to inform them that we are married in community of property, but now we intend to be married out of community of property with or without accrual. And if the court is satisfied that you have complied and no creditors will be prejudiced, they will give you an order to register your postnuptial contract with the deeds office.
Much of what happens with our law in this area is value laden, right? It serves a purpose. There's a purpose that's sought to be served. The correcting of a wrong and the balancing of historical imbalances. Who benefits? Who gains protection from this judgment as it has been framed now?
Well, one can say women, because previously the men used to have an upper hand in terms of marriages and matrimonial regimes. But the law is ensuring that even if a marriage is not registered, a customary marriage is not registered, and there is no antenuptial contract, the other party who may be less financial, in a less financial standing, can still get the benefit of a marriage in community of property, whether it's registered or not.
And without giving him legal advice on air, hypothetically, a certain DJ where this is an issue in his divorce. This is one of the issues, right? In the DJ Black Coffee issue. Does this settle that aspect at least, such that perhaps what's only remaining is the validity of the maintenance order? But this question, if it's proven that they entered into a valid customary law marriage in 2011, that is the marriage that subsists. It's not been extinguished by them entering into the civil marriage all those years later.
Absolutely. But hey, good luck to them.
Yeah. Not trying to give legal advice on air. Mary Jane, thank you for that. That's Mary Jane Mpahlele, founder of Mary Jane Mpahlele Incorporated. Yeah, as I say, I suppose this is the import of that judgment, that at least this aspect is settled. And I suppose, in the DJ Black Coffee matter, the real question would be to continue to argue that, no, that customary marriage was not valid. I wonder how far that would go. But if it was valid, this judgment has serious implications for how the later civil marriage is then dealt with.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, Joburg. First up, if you're coming out of Alberton and Germiston, we had a crash earlier this morning on the N3, pretty much opposite the cement factory, and that's what's causing a delay, particularly coming off the N12 from the Reading interchange up onto the N3 via Elans and up to that scene. Big traffic backlog going into Germiston on the M2 from the N3 Heldenace. That's a separate matter. Might want to avoid that. And the N1 highway jam-packed this morning, northbound from Bayers Nordia up to Ravonia, southbound from Ravonia down to William Mandela. Lots of complaints about emergency lane drivers just getting away with it on that section of the N1 as well. Pretoria's N1 south fairly heavy this morning, backlogging between Linwood Road and the R21. Also, if you're going in from Laudium, Attridgeville side, Quokka Road, the R55, traffic lights down at Transurania, and there's quite a heavy backlog there as well. Durban, a collision on the M19 coming in from Westville, Reservoir Hill side. The crash on the M19 towards Durban at the N2. That's a really big backlog. Also, the N2 north from Queen Nandi Drive heading up towards Gateway stays heavy after an earlier breakdown in the roadworks through there. A lot of pressure on Mshlanga Rocks Drive and the M4. Both of those routes full of northbound traffic, trying to avoid that snarl up on the N2. And Cape Town this morning, crash on the N2 into town, approaching the main road junction right in the heart of Somerset West. And a collision out at Kraaifontein. It's on the N1 Central Reservation, obstructed between Brighton Road and Justenburg Flachta exit. Traffic outbound is heavy, but inbound also backing up through that scene as well. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Yeah, as you can imagine, the conversation we had with Mary Jane Mpahlele and the implications of the Constitutional Court judgment is really resonating with a lot of you, because naturally it's one of the areas of life, right, that this judgment will have an impact on many, many people, as I said, who do go this route of getting into a customary marriage first. So you pay lobolo, and many people not considering lobolo to be marriage when actually it is. Once you are in that customary marriage, you are married. That's it. And then later on getting into a civil marriage. So let me take a few of your voice notes in reaction to that. I see a lot of messages. I will go through them and then read them back to you a bit later on.
Thulas, Nicholas from Makazini in Mpumalanga. You see, with this judgment of the High Court, you see, these are things that we should have known before we enter into marriage, because we always think that you can only enter into that kind of an agreement, the antenuptial agreement, after or before you get married into civil property. This thing is 10 tables to us.
I don't know why, though. Thanks for that message. I don't know why, though, because customary marriages have been valid marriages in this country with proprietary implications for a very long time now. So with the result that, for example, if you didn't say before you sent Abomalume, as Mary Jane Mpahlele was saying, if you didn't say that we want to be married out of community of property, the result is that the day Abomalume concluded and they shook hands and there was a celebration, you've been married in community of property all along. All this judgment says is that whatever you do after on your own and sign a contract, no, doesn't work. You have to go through the judicial process to change the marital regime.
Morning, SAFM. There's always a confusion on my side when I'm attending weddings, because you have a white wedding in the morning, white dress, chapel, and the works, and then in the afternoon you have umabo or umembeso, and I always ask myself, what marriage contract is this? Which one is which? Because I don't think people are very clear about marriage and a contract of marriage, because they don't take it seriously. It's so confusing. What contract are you getting into? Because you must choose your struggle, Thanks. It's Bongi here.
Bongi, choose your struggles, says Bongi. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not strictly necessary, but I think I understand it as people embracing different aspects, right? Because it really is a celebration of their union, and people are at large to celebrate their union the way they want. But you're absolutely spot on about understanding the contractual and property basis, property relations basis of what you are doing. The celebration itself, I think it's just people embracing different aspects of how they choose to celebrate their union. Ntobeko in East London, this conversation also on your mind. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much. There may be some residual matters I suggest you may need to still deal with on this matter. Especially in the constitutional environment in South Africa, in as far as contracting is concerned. The slant so far that we have had on this issue is valorization or monetization, or with something to do with assets and division and whatever the case might be. Who is entitled, who is not entitled, or whatever. Look at it this way, for example. Let's say you enter a customary marriage. And then comes a time where a party needs to contract and encumber him or herself. It is acceptable that an individual in that marriage can independently and unilaterally enter into a contract with monetary implications
for the joint estate,
that individual, and that contract is not binding on the other party. Meaning, should that person, for example, default on that contract, it has nothing to do with the other party. Similarly, the proceeds from that transaction, that person has an option to decide on his own or her own the proceeds of that contract or that transaction entered independently by that person. So I don't quite take it and accept it as a predetermined situation that if you enter into a customary marriage, it therefore means community of property.
Well, if you enter into it without specifying that you want it to be out of community of property, it is in community of property.
It is an imposition. It is again unlawful. We must look at the facts.
So
what was the intent?
Is that where the next challenge will come from, do you believe?
That lies. I would for example, suggest check the jurisprudence in as far as a customary marriage entered into by a Muslim party. Now, that Muslim party have the freedom, and any other party for that matter, might have the freedom to contract separate individually, completely, and bear the consequences without affecting the other party.
All right. Dobego, thank you for flagging that. It's certainly an interesting dimension to this judgment. Okay, what happened to the callers? Okay, all right, I'll come back to the other callers. Someone here says democracy is a scam. I wonder what that is about.
Morning, Tulas. You know, this democracy thing, it's a scam. It's not working for us South Africans or for law-abiding citizens. Look at people are displaced now because of the Zamazamas. This guy who killed children going to school, soon you'll be told that it's his democratic right to get a bail while he killed people. South Africans, we are grappling and fighting for space with foreign people because of the so-called democracy, and you can't mention those things. When you mention those things, you are called xenophobic. It's not working, this thing.
Good morning to us and the listeners. You ask a question referencing to what happens to Randfontein, to say how did we came to this. The biggest problem is these two words, constitution and democracy. Thanks, Tulas.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. How come Gwede Mantashe is not
being asked these questions about these zamazamas. Surely he's the one who needs to take control of the situation and do what needs to be done. That's just me. Thank you. Love your show.
Israel higher, wow, this JCK counter from C. The country is on autopilot. We are experiencing power vacuum. The question remains, how did we arrive here? We are led by thugs and crooks. We're living at the mercy of criminals. Guns killing people every day. Residents terrorized by zamazamas, thugs. Where is the government? Imagine watching your mom crying on national TV because of lack of law and order. Let us have a referendum now and change the government. Let me rest my case for now. Jessica, counter from Sina.
Good morning, Tulas. I just wish the gentleman can explain how also the soldiers are they losing their firearms. I mean, if it's really true that they are losing their firearms, it's very painful and risky at the same time. The firearms that soldiers are using, these are for Tulas. I mean, I just wish if it's really true that they are losing firearms, we must get someone who's working at the same SANDF and come and explain to us how are they losing these firearms.
Yeah. All right, thank you for that, for grappling with all of those issues, right? The state we are in. And as I always ask, I wonder if anyone with the wherewithal to start changing the situation, to start stepping up the response to the crises that we face. I wonder if anyone is listening. That's what I wonder on a daily basis. Anyway, Ondela Mbana on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Thank you, Tulas. On the top stories, Atteridgeville residents react to violent crime in their area and floods damage houses in Kharamongwana village in Limpopo. For SAFM News, I'm Ondela Mbana and a very good morning. Residents of the Jeffsville informal settlement in Atteridgeville, west of Pretoria, say they are tired of violent crime in their area. This follows the fatal shooting of 5 men yesterday. They include 3 Zimbabweans who were sitting outside a tuck shop. Police suspect extortion as the cause of the shooting. Last month, 12 people were shot dead at a nearby Shibin. Community leader Samuel Masilela.
We are so heartbroken about the situations that are happening here in Atteridgeville. This is so painful because a few days ago there was an incident there at the hostel. 12 people were killed there. Now suddenly it's this. It's very painful, but what we are doing as leaders and pastors and bishops and civil society organizations, we have gathered together so that we can form a team and pray, organize some prayer session, because what is happening here is heartbreaking, especially for the young kids. Just imagine hearing some gunshot.
Houses in Kharamongwana village outside Polokwane in Limpopo have been flooded following yesterday's rains. The affected people say their properties have been damaged. They say some children were unable to go to school. Polokwane and Capricorn district municipalities could not comment on the situation. One of the residents, Mamuloko Mutemane, is pleading for urgent help from the authorities.
We are pleading with the Polokwane municipality to help us by draining the water. They can even fill the yards with rocks and sand because it is a low-filled area. We can't walk because there is water everywhere on the streets and even around the neighborhood. We are asking for help. Our children can't even go to school.
The Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire services say several active fire lines have continued to burn in the mountains above Franschhoek. Fire crews have been facing challenging conditions over the past few days. This as the fires enter the 6th day. Fire spokesperson Joanne Otto.
The Incident Command Centre reports that multiple flare-ups occurred late yesterday afternoon, causing several fire lines to spread rapidly up the mountain slopes. Multiple aerial resources were deployed to support firefighting efforts and ensure property protection. No structures were damaged and no injuries were reported. The Franschhoek Pass is open.
A distraught family in Sebokeng Township in Gauteng has appealed the abductors of its 17-year-old member to return him. Ndando Ngozo of Boitumelo location was last seen last month while on his way to assist with celebrations at an initiation school. Ngozo's disappearance has sparked protest, with residents demanding his safe return. Police have opened a case of missing person. The missing teenager's aunt, Busi Ngozo.
My wish is to get our child back. I just wish that we can get him back, even if he's dead, so that we can bury him peacefully and know where our son is. That's all that we want, if he is dead. This has affected us a lot. As you can see now, I was supposed to be at work. I can't work because I'm not okay emotionally. And his mother is also affected a lot. She's even losing weight wherever she is. She can't even eat. She's having sleepless nights.
A security organization linked to Iran's interior ministry says that the death toll in the recent wave of anti-government protests stands at 3,117. The Foundation for Veterans and Martyrs says that almost 2,500 of those in the toll were martyrs and innocent victims. Some families of dead protesters say they were put under pressure to sign papers saying their loved ones were pro-regime. Recapping the top story, residents of Jeffsville informal settlement in Atteridgeville, west of Pretoria, say they're tired of violent crimes in their area. This follows the fatal shooting of 5 men yesterday. I'm Mondulambana for SFM News Headlines at 8:30.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance is saving 27-year-old Liam big bucks on his car insurance.
Saving so much every month, around 640 Rand.
That's an awesome 640 Rand saving on Liam's 2020 Ford Ranger. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus.
Definitely getting a lot out.
Get a quote now and see how much money Outsurance could save you. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
A very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports headlines, it's cricket. The Proteas selectors are facing a selection headache as injuries and SA20 form collide ahead of the West Indies series. And we have soccer action. Liverpool, Barcelona and Bayern Munich march on in the Champions League knockout picture taking shape. All the details just before 8:30.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Still quite busy around the Germiston side of Gauteng province this morning. We've got an earlier crash on the N3 North at Cement Factory. That seems to be piling up the traffic on the N12, the southern bypass from the Reading interchange up to Elands interchange and then on to the N3. Also roadworks on the N17 around Osborne Road at Wadeville. That's a heavy queue coming in from Boksburg this morning. And if you're trying to get into Germiston, avoid the M2. There's a really big backlog from Heldenase from the N3 going down towards Refinery Road. You might want to stay well away from that snarler. The N1 both ways down to Winning Mandela is looking quite heavy. Olifantsfontein in Midrand out of Blue Hills. Big queues down towards the M1 highway. A couple of really big traffic lights down there. N1 South coming out of Pretoria quite slow down to Rigel and no traffic lights. R55 Kwaka at Transurania quite slow through there. Durban, the M19 inbound from West Villa, crash at the N2. That's heavy coming in through the Reservoir Hills area this morning. The breakdown on the N2 North at Umhlanga, that is clear. That traffic starting to flow through. At Cape Town, collision N2 inbound at Main Road in Somerset West. Also a pedestrian down on the N1 at Kraaifontein between Justenburg and Brighton Road exits. Quite heavy outbound but also inbound backlogging there. At a crash on the M3 North, slowing traffic at Constantia Main. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 8 on this Thursday. It's great to be in your company. Welcome to it, the third hour of the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107. What happened to the time? How are we in the third hour already, Zelma? As we always do, let's read some of your messages that have come through. A lot of them have to do with that judgment coming out of the Constitutional Court about the proprietary implications of a marriage, a customary marriage, especially in contexts where the couple then goes on to get into a civil marriage a bit later on. Zama Mopai, customary law lecturer at Univen, says, I'm happy about this judgment. We have been teaching and cautioning people and legal practitioners about this. Personally, I think practitioners who assisted people with these post-customary marriage antenuptial contracts should be put to task because it's also expensive for them to do that. They knew it's invalid but continued anyway. Join DHA in this as well. Join the Department of Home Affairs, says Zama. They should be joined in that challenge and just being taken to task that all along you've been convincing people that you are helping them get into an antenuptial contract. Meanwhile, it's in the name. Ante means before, the status quo ante, before the point where we are now. So therefore, if the point where we are now is that we are married, how are you helping people get into a pre-marriage contract? Contradiction in terms there, according to Zama, saying that the legal practitioners who've been facilitating this should be taken to task, and Department of Home Affairs should also be joined in that action. Someone who calls themselves listener at Mtata says, Thulas, you are correct. And the message just jumped. Thulas, you are correct. The celebration often comes after the legal aspect. Okay, what's going on here? After the legal aspect has been concluded, and therefore the celebration does not denote a marriage regime. What is important is a conversation between the parties before they get married to each other and how they react to that conversation. If they wake up today and send "O malume," then the default position applies. So the ante, before, and post, after, is an important word we should all note. Many of us got to appreciate this post, says listener at Mtata. That clarification, ante and post. Ante means before. You do this before you get into the marriage, if it's to be valid. And now that clarity has really come through. Lastly, let me read this one from Abo. And I read it because it's props and appreciation for the quality of listenership that we have. The expertise and knowledge and areas of interest that you'll get a call and someone will just weigh in and give you a perspective you simply did not have. Abo says, hi Thulas, Ntobeko is powerful, man. You have great listeners, great listenership. Now it makes sense, the big English from you. South Africa is blessed. Amara Abo, you were doing well until, I don't know why am I being dragged here? Why am I being mentioned in this conversation? All right. In the next few minutes, Minister Dean McPherson, Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, is my guest. Weigh in on all of these conversations. The number to dial, 086 000 2032 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's get into it. The third hour of the morning brief on this Thursday.
This is Lungi on any other regular day.
Economy makes me post once a day. Who does that? Like, ew.
Now this is Lungi getting extra with the 20 gig summer deal for just 99 Rand.
I have so many gigs. I could even have a gig, guys. I'm going live every single day to me because get friends.
Extra your summer. Get 20 gigs plus 2 months free YouTube Premium and 100 Vodabucks exclusively on the VodaPay app. T's and C's apply. Further together, Vodacom.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one get one offer, you get great value for money. Get a free pair of branded single vision prescription sunglasses up to 3,300 Rand when you purchase a comprehensive eye examination and spectacle frames with lenses on your first pair. The best part? Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Under Armour, Tommy Hilfiger, Red Bull Spect, and more. Affordable eye care? Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
When you train for results, you don't quit halfway. Earn up to 7.35% interest with a Nedbank Just Invest account. Access your money within 24 hours. Keep your money agile. Get money fit with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
13 minutes after 8. Let's get into this conversation. For Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean McPherson, few issues have caused more headaches than the Independent Development Trust, the IDT. This is an entity meant to deliver schools, clinics, and other social infrastructure, but now it is better known for scandal and instability. In recent days, you will recall that Minister McPherson has been cleared by the Public Protector of any wrongdoing after accusations that he improperly intervened in IDT payments, a finding that directly contradicts claims laid last year by the EFF. Yet, even as that cloud has lifted, the storm around the IDT has intensified with the resignation of its CEO, Tebogo Malaka, under the weight of corruption allegations and a high-profile bribery scandal. So let's speak to Minister Dean McPherson, who joins me in studio. Earlier on, I quipped Minister and I said, Minister McPherson in person.
No, well, it's great to be in the studio of the station that plays in the car in the morning. Yeah. So I'm glad to be here.
We appreciate that. Not many people wake up for us and come to studio. Let's talk about the Public Protector's finding. This all had to do with a service provider that you wanted to be paid within the framework of 30 days. The EFF were a bit uncomfortable with it and they reported you. Where does that finding of the Public Protector that clears you of any wrongdoing, where does it leave the conversation, the principle behind what you were trying to do?
Well, what the Public Protector actually found is not only did she clear me of the ludicrous allegations made against me, which included bribing journalists, corruption, and meddling in the daily operations of the IDT, but the Public Protector actually found that I did the right thing in terms of National Treasury regulations to ensure that businesses that contract with government are paid within 30 days. This is a contractor that had a outstanding payment for 2 years. Now, we know, all of us know, of small businesses that are affected by government that doesn't pay. And we have a very strict rule in public works that people must be paid on time. And so when that came to my attention, I did the right thing in terms of my duties and my loyalty to the Constitution to ensure that those regulations were upheld. Now, of course, Thulasizwe, that was a fig leaf, that complaint against me, and the subsequent request by Action SA to suspend me from office was a fig leaf to cover up what was going on in the IDT, which has now become well known to everyone. So I saw it for what it was. It wasn't obviously nice at the time, being accused of those terrible things that I absolutely hate. But I understood the context of what was going on at the time.
So you found in the clear as far as this instance is concerned, but what has it done and drawn your attention to about a systemic fix? It surely can't be that we operate on the basis of this issue coming to your attention as minister and you then giving an instruction and saying, make sure you pay this contractor whose payment has been outstanding for such a long period of time. What's the fix such that we don't come back to this?
Well, the fix is to ensure that our entities pay on time. Those are non-negotiables. I'm happy to say now that the Department of Public Works is between 98 and 99% paying on time, and that's good. So we have been on a big drive to ensure that contractors and small businesses are paid on time, because we know that one of the big reasons why small businesses fail is because of cash flow. So we must just do our job, and our entities must do their job, and if people can't do their job, then they must go and do that somewhere else. So, it's also about holding those executives, holding CEOs, holding the boards accountable to ensure that they adhere to the regulations that Treasury has set out. And that's why I've taken a very strict approach to governance within the department, to say that, we need to pull up our socks. We are known for all the wrong reasons. I think that we are getting known for doing better things now. That is a journey that we are on. But the simple and quick fix is just do your job, pay on time, and then no one will have any issues.
I want to come back to a word, a phrase you used, a fig leaf. Fig leaf. You said it was a fig leaf to cover what was happening at the IDT. Why would these players, the EFF and Action SA, want to have that cover? Why would they want? What's in it for them? What's their interest?
Well, their interest was to get me out of the way, first of all. And that was just as we had launched the PwC forensic investigation into the 800 million rand oxygen plant tender, which PwC then found was awarded irregularly, that internal supply chain management regulations had been flouted, and that the companies, one of the companies that had been awarded did not even qualify. So you can then start to see a pattern of behavior that said, actually, we wanted to protect what was going on there. We knew what was going on there, and we were going to try and rope in as many people as possible. And it wasn't just political parties. I'm sorry to say to Thulasizwe that it was also some media companies. You will recall that JJ Tabani wrote a scandalous piece accusing me of bribing journalists. Times then correctly made him withdrew it when he couldn't provide any information. The Star continuously ran front page headlines of me accusing me of bribery and corruption. So it was a whole network of people that were involved to protect wrongdoing. Why did they do it? I don't know. They've never accounted. I know many media platforms have offered them the opportunity to come and explain why they made those calls, why they wanted me suspended, why they laid criminal charges where no evidence exists. Maybe you might be lucky and they'll come and explain that to you.
Sure. And in fact, as you say that invitation stands, and we'll reach out to them to see if they will want to come back in the wake of what you've just said now. But your troubles with the IDT are not over. What is the status? The CEO is outgoing now, Tebogo Malaka, on the 31st of January 2026 is the effective date of that resignation. Where does that leave the questions of probity at the IDT, the questions of accountability for what has happened?
Absolutely. And Thulasizwe, when the board brought this issue to my attention, as they correctly did, I was very clear that there can be no golden handshakes, no exit payments, or anything of the like. It was just going to be impossible. And if Ms. Malaka wanted to resign, she would need to do so on her own volition. Of course, that comes ahead of the disciplinary inquiry that was set to sit in February. I've also been very clear to the board that it does not absolve her of the criminal proceedings that I myself instituted when I laid criminal charges against her last year for her allegedly bribing Peter Louis Marburg in that now infamous video recording. And of course, I continue to urge the SAPS and NPA to conclude those investigations so we know where they are headed. I just read this morning in the Daily Maverick that they've been able to ascertain that decision is imminent now. So I welcome that, because there must be accountability for what people do in the public space, particularly when they work in entities and for government. And we are absolutely committed to that in Public Works and myself as the Minister.
What about the other aspects that have to do with the management of the expanded Public Works program and those workers that are part of those programs of employment and work creation by government? The Colin Mashawana Foundation, for example, being mentioned in all of that. How far are we with getting to the bottom of how that was managed by the Colin Mashawana Foundation?
Well, of course, that now has been terminated by the IDT, correctly so, after those allegations came to the fore. And those are also being investigated now by the IDT, the board itself, and understand exactly how that came to be. But, it's very clear to me that EPWP needs to transition from being a program of temporary sort of collecting rubbish, cutting grass kind of program to becoming more one that is dignified, one that puts people onto long-term employment. So that is also something that we learn out of what happened there, and actually speeds up our efforts to reform the program. Later in March, we'll be launching a pilot program. It's called Working on Infrastructure, that we're launching in Limpopo and KwaZulu-Natal, that actually will test this new model of expanded public works going forward, which we then hope to roll out across the country.
And what about the payment of the people? Because I think what was truly heartbreaking was the stories of EPWP workers not being paid. What really is to people of means would be a pittance, but actually is the difference between being able to buy a bag of maize meal for those people who undertake that work.
Absolutely, and I don't want us ever to be, or any of our programs to ever be, the cause of heartache and pain for communities. And so where there is wrongdoing that's been identified, or where people have not been paid as they should have, they have my commitment that will take place. But obviously I need to do that on the back of a report that will come to me that will say this is where the shortfall was, this is where people haven't received, and we will make good on ensuring that people get what they deserve.
It feels all of these programs we're talking about, Minister, they create the impression that you're getting into your stride within the Government of National Unity, albeit with all the questions that come up from time to time about the stability of the GNU, not so much at a national level, but I see them at the provincial level, for example, in KwaZulu-Natal. What are we to make of the ructions that come up from time to time, the instability that comes up from time to time, what's happening in the NFP, for example, right now, leading people into concluding that perhaps this government in the coalition that governs in KZN may not last?
Well, as you know, I also hold another role, a political role, as being the chairperson of the DA in KwaZulu-Natal. And we are obviously very concerned with what has taken place within the Government of Provincial Unity. That's why this Saturday, myself and our leadership team, will be meeting with the leadership of the NFP. And we've simply said to them that we don't want to prejudge anything. We want to listen to what their concerns are. We want to hear from them and see how we can work to try and resolve that, because we each have a responsibility as a party in the Government of Provincial Unity to do so. We also see the NFP still as Partners for Progress in KZN. They bravely joined the GPU with us in 2024. We think that they have played a very good role, particularly within social development. Their MEC has been outstanding, and so we need to try and find out what are some of those disagreements face to face, not through the media, and then we will listen to them, and then I'm sure that the parties that make up the Government of Provincial Unity, and hopefully the NFP, can then sit around the table and say, how do we actually secure this government then until the next elections in 2029? And I think that we can do that if we put the people of that province first.
But are you clear as partners, as coalition partners, that without the NFP in the room, in that coalition, you are toast?
I don't believe that, no. I think that, it becomes complicated and complex, but it doesn't mean that we are toast. And so, we look at all the options on the table. We look at all the permutations. Our first priority is to keep the NFP at the table. I think that is possible. So I'm not even considering what comes after that, because my sole objective, certainly as the DA chairperson and as the Government of Provincial Unity, is to keep the NFP in the fold, to see how do we work together, how do we address those concerns, and how do we stabilize that government going forward.
In other politics, of course, you being a senior leader within the Democratic Alliance, we saw recently the of George making all sorts of allegations about the direction of the party more than anything else, saying the party has allowed itself to be hijacked by the ANC and other criminal organizations, and also talking about the vulnerabilities that he sees of the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, due to his own financial position and struggles. What do you make of that? What are we to make of that? You are the party that wants us to see it as the alternative government, not the chaos and confusion and factionalism that characterizes other political organizations, yet here you are.
Well, I think it should be seen through the prism of a man who lost a seat in the executive, became bitter, and then made unfounded allegations. And, he had every opportunity, if he so believed in his standing, that he sits in the highest structure of the party. He could have made all of those allegations there. he chose not to. And Thulasizwe, I think that we must be careful that when people leave parties, they leave parties to try and burn them to the ground because they didn't get what they want. It happens in all political parties. I've been a member of this party for 24 years. I'm 40, so I've been a member of this party since I was 17. I have never seen the DA so focused, so stable, and so clear in what its objectives are. And actually, anyone who says that the DA is captured it's ridiculous, because it was the DA that actually voted against the 2% VAT increase. And we understood what the consequences of that were going to be. Now, no party that is captured would have done that, actually.
But I think the bottom line is that you are at a point where walking away from the government of national unity is simply no longer an option for you.
Well, of course, it will always be an option. It has to be an option because we are not bound to any government forever. But those decisions are taken by me alone. They're taken by the leadership of this party, and they are determined on what takes place in the government that goes forward.
Are you failing, though, to hold John Steenhuisen accountable? The questions around the use of the federal credit card, has he answered those questions to your satisfaction?
Well, he was cleared by the Federal Legal Commission. We cannot say that we believe in the party's constitution, we believe in the structures of the party, and then when you make an allegation and it doesn't stick, you then say, well, then it was whitewash and it was cooked. I mean, that's completely outrageous, to be perfectly honest. I trust the processes of this party. This party has no reason or no desire to ever not hold someone accountable. And actually, show me another political party that has ever so publicly held its leader accountable like it has with John Steenhuisen. And you will not see another political party that has done that. And so I have faith in John Steenhuisen. I believe in his leadership. He picked this party up from its knees in 2019. He has taken us into national government that no other party leader has. And I think that the DA will continue on its mission, not only in the government of national unity, but in opposition across many
So lastly
municipalities.
With the faith you express in his leadership, can I read into that as far as the leadership contestation in the Congress that's coming up, that you are comfortable and you're clear that John Steenhuisen should continue as leader, as federal leader?
Well, the nominations haven't opened up.
Yeah. Sounds like the ANC.
The nominations haven't opened up. We have rules and structures in our party. John is our leader. He's my leader. I believe in his leadership, in the way in which he has carried us into government, in which he continues to do so, in which he continues to articulate important positions for the people of this country, in which he holds other political parties accountable. And for that, I'm very satisfied in him and where we are headed.
All right, let's leave it there. Completely out of time. Thank you for coming through once again. That's Minister Dean McPherson, Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. I tell you what, let's go to Ondela Mbana and get a quick headline update. Come back with the traffic and your sporting update.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Sorry I'm late, Sevi. Had to fetch my lucky putter. No worries. Let's go. We're teeing off in an hour. Great. We're taking your car.
Can't. It's already taken.
What do you mean taken? It was right here when I left a few minutes ago.
I sold it to Weber Cars and made a whole lot of green.
Birdie told me that's the best way to sell your car.
Not only the best way, it's the fair way. Kom ons vat die pad.
Don't be doof, be savvy. We buy cars geared for a fast sale, geared for you.
On the news headlines, Johannesburg Metro Police have arrested a man for overloading his vehicle and driving without a permit. The man, who was transporting learners to school, was found travelling with more than 20 of them in his minibus, which is supposed to carry fewer passengers. The Peli Joint Civic Movement in Atteridgeville, west of Pretoria, has attributed yesterday's shooting incident to rival gangs fighting to extort foreign business owners in the area. And Cape Town firefighters have managed to bring a blaze on the premises of Strand Farm in Strand under control. Strong winds fueled the fire, which started yesterday afternoon. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Just a reminder, if you're going into Germiston at the minute, you might want to avoid the M2. It's a really big backlog of traffic from the N3 highway going down to an operation near Refinery Road. N1, under a bit of pressure, southbound from Ravonia to get off at William Mandela, northbound from Malabongwe up through William Mandela towards Ravonia, staying quite slow as well. So pretty heavy on the highway, both directions. The N1 coming out of Pretoria looks fine. Bit of traffic between Samram and Olifantsfontein. That's not unusual for this time of morning. And further down as the N1 becomes the Mike 1 from Woodmead, heading down towards sort of Caller Drive territory. That's quite slow. Durban, the M19 in from New Germany and Claremont. Big backlogs today. It's a crash on the M19 at the N2 highway, and that traffic backing up beyond Reservoir Hills and deep back into Westerville territory. Be a good one to avoid. Maybe move down and use the M13 instead. Cape Town, N1 into town, pretty sluggish from Plattekloof Hill territory. There's traffic all the way through to the elevated freeway, and the M3 inbound slow this morning from top of Wynberg Hill up towards UCT. There's also backlog still out of Tableview this morning. Marine Drive looking sluggish from Bayside down to the first lights at Sunset Beach. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you once again. Let's talk Proteas. Tell me about the selectors facing what you're saying is a selection headache.
Yeah, Thulas, the Proteas medical room is a bit busy than the batting nets right now. So we've got doctors trying to figure out what to do with all the injuries that the team is facing. So yeah, this is some serious head scratching ahead of naming the T20 squad for the West Indies series. There's injuries to key players like Donovan Ferreira, David Miller and Lungi Ngidi, but it has opened the door for some informed SA20 stars, with MI Cape Town's Ryan Rickleton impossible to ignore after topping the run charts with over 330 runs. Now, with the ICC deadline looming, fitness and form will decide who will board that plane. Let's stay with cricket. Deval Brevis smashed 75 of 38 balls to fire the Pretoria Capitals into the SA20 final with a 7-wicket win over the Sunrisers Eastern Cape.
Yeah, firstly to start, it's very important for me. I give it all to God. He blessed me with a talent to do this, and it was very special to be able to be there out there for the boys. Finish it obviously with Shafane, but Bryce played such a key role as well with ball in hand and the batting. But it was really nice to know that we're going straight into the finals. We've got some time to recover and to prepare. But yeah, very proud of the boys, and it was a team effort. We all fight it out there, and it was just very enjoyable to be out there and walking off the field with everyone. Well, with Shafane.
Let's go to the Joburg Super Kings batter, James Vince, saying they are preparing for a whole new game when they face the Paarl Royals in the SA20 eliminated today. Now, the 34-year-old, who's also confident that they too have individual players who are able to turn the match in their favour on the day.
A lot of confidence in the team that come tomorrow there'll be one or two of us that can hopefully put our hand up and put in a match-winning performance. We know in T20 cricket it only takes sort of one or two guys to have a day out and generally come out on the right side. So as long as we're all thinking with that mindset and believing that we can do that, hopefully, as I say, a couple of us have a good day and we can get the job done.
Rugby now. The Springbok women will host the United States in a historic 2-test series in July. The matches will take place at Ellis Park on the 4th of July and Loftus Versfeld on the 11th of July. The announcement comes after confirmation that the Bok women will also host New Zealand's Black Ferns at FNB Stadium in September, which is another historic first. And finally, motorsport. The 2026 World Rally Championship has roared into life with the Monte Carlo Rally Shakedown. Sebastian Ogier began his title defense on the home roads in France. The Toyota driver is already a 10-time Monte Carlo winner, and another victory this weekend would make him the most successful driver at a single WRC event. The rally runs from today all the way to Sunday in Monaco. That's your sport. John Helica will be in the fast lane around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Dowling, good morning to you once again. This is such an important story, and we focused on it extensively last year, and I suppose the fallout continues. ArcelorMittal and their long steel plants. Tell me about the IDC and their talks to try and buy ArcelorMittal South Africa.
Now, after months of uncertainty, Thulas, and plant closures, fresh negotiations are underway yet again to try and secure the future of AMSA, with the IDC moving to submit a new offer for the steel maker. The IDC is expected to table a non-binding bid for the business after earlier efforts to attract alternative buyers failed. Now, talks between the parties previously collapsed late last year when ArcelorMittal rejected an informal proposal that included settling debt owed to its parent company. Discussions first began in late 2023 when ArcelorMittal warned it would shut key steel plants supplying the automotive and mining sectors. Since then, 2 mills and an iron ore mine have been closed, leaving the Vanderbijlpark operation still active, while facilities in Pretoria and Saldanha idled. The IDC, which already holds a minority stake in the company, says it continues to engage stakeholders in search of a sustainable outcome for the country's steel industry.
So a couple of minutes ago, I was talking to Minister Dean McPherson, and we were talking about the payment of service providers. And here we are. Afrox is one of those service providers as far as public hospitals are concerned, and they are not taking the non-payment lying down.
That's right, Sules. According to a Business Day article, medical gas supplier Afrox has taken the state to court in an effort to recover 360 million rands in unpaid bills from provincial health departments, some dating back as far as 2017. Now, Afrox supplies essential medical gases to state hospitals nationwide under a contract with National Treasury, and says all 9 provinces have failed to pay within the required 30-day period. The Eastern Cape accounts for the largest share of the debt, followed by Gauteng. And Afrox argues that persistent non-payment breaches Treasury regulations and threatens the sustainability of companies providing critical healthcare services. Now, economists have warned that delayed payments are placing suppliers under financial strain and could eventually disrupt service delivery. Afrox says it cannot simply stop supplying hospitals, as medical gases are essential for patient care. Now, the case adds, of course, to what you just mentioned there, the mounting pressure on provincial health departments already flagged by the AG for billions of rands in unpaid invoices.
Yeah, they call them accruals, and they roll over into the next year and the next year. And I mean, the case you mentioned, 2017, guys.
Yes.
How are you not paid for work you did in 2017? Anyway, recap for us the markets and give us a sense of where we're going with this day.
So local markets are in for an upbeat start following global moves. Some company news coming through as well, including updates from Sasol and South 32. In currency markets, the rand is trading stronger against global currencies at 16.27 to the greenback, 21.84 to the pound, and 19.02 to the euro. In commodities, that is, oil also in the green following a positive update from the International Energy Agency, which forecasts greater demand for Brent on improving economic growth, to $64 a barrel this morning. Then back to equities, stateside futures in positive territory after Trump backtracked on tariffs and ruled out military action when it comes to Greenland. That also fueling optimism in Asia, with those stocks trending mostly higher.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. Ndauling Lechela has updated you throughout the morning on business, economics, and the markets.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The rivalry between the Proteas and the Windies hits the rooftop this summer as they both chase a crucial victory in the second T20 international encounter. Be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Thursday, 29 January at 5:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC2 with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Get Barter school shoes at Spar for 75 Rand when you spend 350 Rand or more and swipe your rewards card. Buy 850 gram Parmalat pre-packed cheese for 124.99 plus 300 megs free data on Spar Mobile, or 400 gram Parmalat or Melrose cheese slices for 59.99 plus 150 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Price is valid from 20 Jan till 8 Feb while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
SABC2 is stepping into a new era, Papa, where every moment tells a story. A new era of conversations with Enklik Let's Connect at 4:30 p.m, bringing real talk and South African voices. A new era of Afrikaans news at 6:30 p.m, trusted information in the language you love. A new era of family entertainment, Omar Sari at 7 p.m, celebrating humor, tradition and togetherness. A new era of excitement in a new time slot, Deal or No Deal at 7:30 p.m, bringing primetime thrills home. A new era of drama, Pimville at 9 p.m, a brand new powerful telenovela from Soweto that grips the heart, and a new era of flavor with a new season of Color Your Plate with Koo, Sundays at 7 p.m. A new era begins on SABC2.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
The lines are buzzing. The conversation is exploding in multiple directions. Let's get straight to it. Let me start with a call from Loward in Alberton. Loward, good morning to you. I heard you talking to Kathy. You were in Limpopo and your network was not so great a couple of days ago. Are you back?
I'm still in Limpopo, my dear brother.
Yes, I think we can hear you now, so please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, my brother. I departed that side which you call a heartland, and I'm not through the highways and
you're now in the hinterland.
I'm in the hinterland. Yes, my brother. No, thanks, my brother. Talk about, or to follow up on one of the matters you have been talking about this morning about crime, even though it was related to the illegal mining, which is colloquially called Zamazamas. Our country, Thulas, is under a perpetual siege from criminals.
Mm-hmm.
So criminality such as illegal mining, mass murders, drugs, you can name, but a lot of them if you feel like. And then we seem to be happy-clappy as a country ever since the 6th of July when one provincial commissioner stood on the podium and said to us that the crime intelligence boss is the best one. But how can we suffer as a country when we have got the best person who's leading our crime intelligence in the name of Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo? I want to tell you, that as long as our crime intelligence are not so effective, we are going to continue seeing the rise of crime in South Africa.
Yeah.
Yes, and then the last one, it cannot be rational correct to push an agenda of political killings only, whereas we are witnessing as a country that we are suffering from various crimes as a country.
Yeah.
So it means the crime intelligence is not doing the right thing, because the police on the ground, they have to work according to the information gathered by the crime intelligence. That is my worry this morning.
All right, Lord. Thank you for that. And the line held there, and we got the point that you are making about the key cog in our fight against crime. And basically the message that I pick up from Lord is that unless and until crime intelligence is fixed, we are fighting a losing battle in as far as there's multiple pockets of criminality that seem to be gaining momentum on a daily basis are concerned. Moses in Bremley, also on your mind, the issue of illegal miners, so-called zamazamas. Good morning.
Good morning to Thulasizwe. Yeah, man, I heard you in the morning. You kept on referring to the state. We are no longer having a state here. We've got a bunch of elite political scumbags who are just masquerading as leaders. We must just take it upon ourselves that we were failed since day one. We elected these people ushered them into this democracy. There's no democracy here. We've got people who are just joining the queue of people who are just eating and eating and more eating. If you look around where Natula sees, the way in which these people are mingling with those who are not truthful, like people dealing with drug dealers, whereas they are leaders of political parties and in government, you could see that we are not led. The country is doomed. We need to change these people, and I don't know how. We cannot just go on when these people are failing us. The Zamazama are running rampage. When you look at the people in Cape Town, they are not protected at all. Gangsterism is at its peak, but the government is doing nothing. We've got police who are in the pocket of the clique of people who are not truthful to be with us in this country. Really.
No, I hear you, Moses. Thank you for that. And it again comes back to that. What will it take? When will enough be enough in our situation? Yeah. All right, I'll continue with your calls and WhatsApp voice notes in a moment.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Couple of updates on some blasting work around the country today. The big one, if you're going to be Mpumalanga, Piet Retief through to Ermelo between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. So there's a 2-hour window this afternoon for contractors to conduct their blasting, and they say there'll be a minimum of 1 hour delay. So at some point between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m., Piet Retief, Ermelo, there'll be a 1 hour section that's a 1 hour period where a section of that roadway is closed. To the blasting down KZN Way, Pietermaritzburg side, there was a 3-day schedule this week to conduct some blasting around Market Road. It did go ahead on Tuesday. Yesterday's was cancelled and today is cancelled. So the N3 Pietermaritzburg Ashburton expected to remain open. Joburg this morning, pretty busy into Santa, particularly Morningside, Rivonia Road, South Road. Those two routes heading down into sort of Rivonia, Greyston territory. Very slow going. There's a lot of pressure around the Crown. The Mike 1 from Boysons to Empire. M2 from Joe Slovo into that Mike 1's all backed up. And do try and avoid the M2 into Germiston. It's a long queue this morning. Operation down at Refinery Road, backlogging from the N3 highway off-ramps. Cape Town, fairly busy today on the N1 inbound. Still plenty of traffic from N1 City through to the city centre territory. And the M3, the earlier crash at Constantia Main Road, finally out of the way. But there is some traffic there from the top of Wynberg Hill through to Hospital Bend. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
With Outsurance, I'm saving a whole 729 Rand.
Another satisfied Outsurance client saving more money every month. 32-year-old Parushka saves 729 Rand a month on her 2020 Haval H2. And after 3 claim-free years, she gets an out bonus.
Yes, I'm ready for that out bonus.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
The best summer experience is at the cricket ground. The Proteas and the Windies are gearing up for the T20 World Cup. This is the first T20 international contest. Be part of it. South Africa versus West Indies on Tuesday, 27 January at 5:30 p.m.
live on SABC Plus and SABC2, with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hello, January. You feel different to December. December was nice, wasn't it? January is strange like that. Because as much as December was easy, January is hard. Giving things up, getting fit, looking ahead, making plans, changing plans. And 11 months later, it's December again. And on it goes. Year after year after year. The thing is, December is how you should feel when you retire. And all the time you spend getting there should make it worth it. That's why, after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do the things you want to do. Like turning your Januaries into Decembers. Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FS.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka. And believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
No, without fear or favor, that guy who said that democracy is a scam, he's totally right. We are busy tackling the silent symptoms. Economy, judiciary, what, movement, migration. Those are the silent symptoms. The chief complaint here is democracy. It's a scam.
What's the alternative?
Good morning, SAFM listeners. I have a different view about this marriage issues. As a man of God, as a prophet, I do not believe in marriages because a married man will do enough to please his marriage, and when an unmarried man will do enough to please his God, I choose to stand on the side where I remain single to serve the interest of God. I'm a prophet. I don't need a marriage.
Good morning, SFM listeners and toolers. No more lobola for us. Lobola forget. No more customary marriage. We are just going to go to Home Affairs and sign out of a community of property. No more.
But you can do that with lobolo as well, right? You can just agree beforehand that you and I are going into this lobolo situation, but we are going to be out of community of property, and here's our antenuptial contract. It's the same, really. Sipho, good morning to you. Ngiyapila baba, kunjani? Please go ahead and keep it short and sharp for me. I've got a lot of people holding. Yes.
We are sitting with a problem. We are now calling them Zamazama. They are no longer Zamazama. Amabhukela mbuso lawo.
Yo.
Ngoni mawumamela uRobert McBride izolo uthi kunama country neighboring countries. Kunama military camps nyana yenziwayo lapha Mnguni to come and take impumalanga babuya ngaseSwazini abanye babuya ngaseLesotho. Le mali le gujwayo lapho Mnguni eSouth Africa ile financer lama military base. And lento abayenzayo ukuthi bakhipha abantu bayabaleka bafaka ubhoko ngesizulu Mnguni. They are testing the waters of the military, might of our military or whatever security, and they've tested it and they've found which is very weak. Soon sobaleka sonke Mnguni singazi siyaphi. Sigqilazo abantu sababiza ngokuthi our brothers and sisters Mnguni. So mina I'm saying makuvalwe ama-tavern for a week. Insizwa sidinga ukuhlangana. Sike sihlale phansi sisoba nje sibheke ukuthi kwenzakalani kule country. Kodwa ngabo intelligence.
Sipho, thank you for that. That's Sipho there talking about the various issues that he says have come to a point where he says we need to close down the taverns for a day so that we can have a sober conversation about the crises that we are living with in this country. Biggie in Bombela, good morning to you.
Big brother, a very good morning to you. I think the listeners of SAFM, particularly candidate legal practitioners must make sure that they listen to your show, because I can guarantee you, paper 3, the question will be asked about this marriage.
Oh, there's
and
still
the
that
judgment.
thing, by the way, for some people.
You know, there is nothing new in actual fact. I wish, if you've got time, please, you must browse through a judgment that was done by the judge, president of Mpumalanga, deputy judge president, Babu Rashivumbu, Takalani Rashivumbu, particularly about the customary marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Section 21 has been always very clean and clear, and even the Customary Marriage Act has always been the Marriage Act has been always been clear that all customary marriages without any accrual or without any antenuptial contract are income of property.
Yes.
The only thing that people need to understand now, Thulas, is that you have to execute an antenuptial contract before any particular marriage, and it is always being executed before a notary public within a specified time. And there's nothing that has changed. People can speak whatever, but I believe the Constitutional Court was just stamping or rubber stamping the law in terms of the customary marriage.
Yeah.
I thank you.
No, thank you for that, Biggie. I hear you. And I think part of the challenge has been those people that have labored under the misconception that, customary marriage is not really a marriage. We'll only be married when we get to the civil marriage. In fact, there was a message that I wanted to read, man. Come to us as we find it before you're out of time. Someone was talking about how a customary marriage is like going to university, but you're not really studying. Come on, where is it now? Zalma? No, I can't find it. But basically, that's that perception that I don't know where that perception comes from. Customary marriage is a marriage. You are married with all the implications that come with it for your property and even getting out of it. You're not just simply walking away and saying, I'm done. No, it needs to be dissolved in a proper way through a decree of divorce. Anyway, on that note, let's leave it there. The conversations don't stop, though. They continue, starting with the talking point with Kethi Mohlahlana immediately after the news at 9 with Ondela Mbana. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. You've been briefed.
Thank you, Tulas and the team on the top stories. The death toll in the Vaal Scholar transport crash now stands at 14, and Atteridgeville residents react to violent crime in their area. For SFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good morning. Gauteng police have confirmed that 2 more learners involved in the Vanderbilt Park Scholar transport crash have died. This puts the death toll at 14. 12 learners were initially killed in Monday's crash involving a minibus, taxi and a truck. The 22-year-old scholar transport driver is expected to appear in the Vanderbilt Park Magistrate Court today. He faces 12 counts of culpable homicide as well as charges of reckless and negligent driving. Johannesburg Metro Police have arrested a man for overloading his vehicle and driving without a permit. The man who was transporting learners to school was found travelling with more than 20 of them in his minibus, which is supposed to carry fewer passengers. The Transport Department is currently in Lenasia, south of Johannesburg, conducting a scholar transport safety operation with a focus on compliance. The department's minister, Barbara Chrissy, addressed the media as officers made the arrest.
Behind me has just been arrested because he has 25 children packed in a vehicle. And we all understand the role that overloading plays in this.
Residents of the Jeffsville informal settlement in Atteridgeville, west of Pretoria, say they are tired of violent crime in their area. This follows the fatal shooting of 5 men yesterday. They include 3 Zimbabweans who were sitting outside a tuck shop. Police suspect extortion as the cause of the shooting. Last month, 12 people were shot dead at a nearby Shibin. Community leader Samuel Masilela.
We are so heartbroken about the situations that are happening here in Atteridgeville. This is so painful because a few days ago, there was an incident there at the hostel 12 people were killed there. Now suddenly it's this. It's very painful, but what we are doing as leaders and pastors and bishops and civil society organizations, we have gathered together so that we can form a team and pray, organize some prayer session, because what is happening here is heartbreaking, especially for the young kids. Just imagine hearing some gunshot.
Cape Town firefighters have managed to bring a blaze on the premises of Strand Farm in Strand under control. Strong winds fueled the fire, which started yesterday afternoon. Police were called in after some of the bystanders pelted firefighters with stones. Cape Town Fire and Rescue Services spokesperson Jermaine Carlser.
Crews worked with what is known as CAFs, or compressed air foam system, to contain the blaze. Currently, there are 2 vehicles on scene attending to the hotspots. None of the buildings were damaged and no injuries were reported. At this stage, the cause of the fire is unknown.
Taylor Swift has become the youngest female artist ever to be inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. The 36-year-old singer, who is one of the best-selling music artists of all time, has nearly 70 songs credited only to her. The BBC's Andrew Ochieng has the details.
We were both young when I first saw you.
Love Story is among the biggest hits which Taylor Swift has solo writing credits for, but the singer has had some input in all her most successful tracks. She is listed as co-writer in more than 250 of her songs, and she has also written for other musicians. She is among 9 songwriters in the class of 2026, which also includes the Canadian Alanis Morissette. The organizers said the songwriters have profoundly impacted the lives of billions of listeners worldwide. They will be welcomed into the prestigious club during a private ceremony in New York in June.
Recapping the top story, Gauteng police have confirmed that 2 more learners involved in the Vanderbilt Park Scholar transport crash have died. This puts the death toll at 14. I am Ondelambana for SFM News Headlines at 9:30.
63-year-old Almero knows all about saving with Outsurance.
We do save 417 Rand. That's about 5,000 Rand a year.
That's an awesome saving on Almero's 2021 Ford Ranger.
And there's an out bonus that you get if you don't claim for 3 years. I am really looking forward to it.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Sanibonani dumelang absheni lochani Mzansi igama lam nguzanele untomdodwa izinhluzaza, but you can simply call me Uzanele Mthombeni. I am your new host khona yi Ekaslami, the TV show that profiles some of your absolute faves celebrities. I'm talking when an actor, musician, bona, politician, benekant zonke bonke zikhona, and we take them to Ekasi and find out who exactly they were before all the glitz, glam, lights, cameras, and action. Oh, bye, Uzi. Uzi, umutokulayo. Kulakamnani.
Ekaslami, Tuesday at 6 on SABC 1. Mzansi for sure.
Eskom customers, change is here. Eskom is upgrading old electricity meters with modern smart meters, giving you clarity, control, and confidence. With your new meter, you'll be able to see your usage in real time, giving you the power to manage your electricity with ease. Smart meters are accurate and help Eskom respond faster to issues. Please allow our authorized installers access to install your new meter. For more information, visit our website, Eskom Redefining for a Better Future.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.1 FM in Bombela. The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Learning a language is much easier said than done. But here's just one tip. Don't care so much about what other people may say. You are learning this language to connect with a part of your culture so vital in the understanding of what makes you, you. I struggled at the beginning of my language learning journey, always worried about what people would say or whether they would support me. Continue making your mistakes. because I can assure you that practice makes perfect. I would like to pose to you this question. Why can't we perfect our vernaculars and our English? I ask this because I know that English is the global language of trade and it is impossible to throw away. However, does that mean that we must abandon our own languages in order to keep up with the ever-developing world we live in? I think not. Why do we look at those who are fluent in their mother tongues but struggle in English as though they are of lesser intelligence than us, fluent only in a language which has nothing to do with our ancestral heritage? Today, I stand in front of you with the belief that my future and the future of generations to come can be filled with the richness of our mother tongues. To our parents, take it upon yourself to introduce your children to their culture, developing in them a pride for this part of their identity. Beginning the journey is the hardest part, but in the end, it is worth it.
Ayana Njoroge is a triple major in studio art, French and environmental studies at Hope College in Kenya. It's 9:09. And yeah, the issue of mother tongues. I actually want to know from parents, right? How did you get it right? So if you have raised children that speak